You are seeing their former president, Barack Obama, sitting right next to President-elect Donald Trump. Of course, we don't know what they're saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, now welcome to the stage the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. Wealthy, wealthy, wealthy. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. On day one, I immediately halted the hiring of any new IRS agents. You know, they hired or tried to hire 88,000 new workers to go after you, and we're in the process of developing a plan to either terminate all of them or maybe we'll move them to the border. I think we're going to move them to the border. An age of America begins right now. America's decline is over. We will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth. I am with you. I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. The golden age of America begins right now.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. He's saying the things to people who are hurting. And it's why every beaten down, nameless, forgotten working stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them. Although they lost their jobs, although they've been foreclosed on by the bank, next came the divorce, and now the wife and kids are gone, the car's been repoed, they haven't had a real vacation in years, they're stuck with the shitty Obamacare bronze plan where you can't even get a fucking Percocet. They've essentially lost everything they had, except one thing. The one thing that doesn't cost them a cent and is guaranteed to them by the American Constitution, the right to vote. They might be penniless, they might be homeless, they might be fucked over and fucked up. It doesn't matter, because it's equalized on that day. A millionaire has the same number of votes as the person without a job. One. And there's more of the former middle class than there are in the millionaire class. The dispossessed will walk into the voting booth, be handed a ballot, close the curtain, and take that lever, or felt pen or touchscreen, and put a big fucking X in the box by the name of the man who has threatened to upend and overturn the very system that has ruined their lives. Donald J. Trump. They see that the elites who ruined their lives hate Trump. Corporate America hates Trump. Wall Street hates Trump. The career politicians hate Trump. The media hates Trump. Trump's election is going to be the biggest fuck you ever recorded in human history. Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to our show. I am Colin, also known as Project Constitution, and I have my amazing co-host here, Corey, Phantom Fact Society. What's up, Corey?
Thank you so much, Project. Happy Sunday, end of the weekend. Happy week to everybody. What an amazing accomplishment and fulfillment of promises we have seen so far, and hints for more to come.
An amazing week. Absolutely. I 100% agree. Trump has done more in this week in office than Biden has done in 4 entire years. Matter of fact, he's done more than Obama and Biden together have done in 12 years.
I hate to fact check you right off the bat, Project, but I am Phantom Facts. So Biden did outdo Trump and still outdoing Trump in 4 years for pardons. So I think 2058 is the number for Biden. So Trump got catching up to do, or?
But is that a good thing?
Sarcasm coming through early this Sunday evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm more than happy as far as the pardons go with Trump. I'm more than happy with everything he's done so far, with pardoning all the J6ers. That was a long time coming. With pardoning the pro-life protesters, which a lot of them are like old grandparents stuff. Completely were not not violent, nothing. They were just standing there. And then also,
the stories coming out now for the January Sixers and the downright torture is what it was for some of those people in that DC jail, and what they went through for 4 years, and the long lasting effects of having their family members turn them in. I think it was like over 60% of them had family members. Their own kids turned them in. Their wives turned them in. Their husbands turned them in. I mean, and now to see some sort of at least closure that these people, moms and dads who just went to a rally to show support for Trump's presidency, and now they don't have to be labeled as felons and criminals and essentially insurrectionists. As bad as Pearl Harbor is what it was being labeled as. I mean, it's just that thankfully we're slowly starting to see the stories come out, and I'm sure over the next 4 years, those people that really showed no trust in the justice system will get their day in court.
I completely agree, man. And I would actually like to, I saw that Congress has initiated another January 6th investigation, a real one this time. So we're going to get to the actual, truth. And I mean, we already know the truth, but that's just making it official with them actually saying the facts as opposed to the garbage narrative that the last J6 committee threw out there with, insurrection and all that bull crap. I would like to go a step further. I would like to call all those people national heroes. I would like to have Trump. I would like to set up a petition to potentially have January 6th called a national holiday. I would like it to be issued. I would like January 6th to be a national holiday. What do you think about that? They're all patriots, man. I'm not scared to say it.
You threw me for a loop, Project. This was why I enjoy when we're on the show together. A national holiday for the January 6th survivors who were political prisoners for 4 years, I think is a beautiful idea. But I can assure you that, every cycle between Republican and Democrat, it'll just be bastardized by the end of 25 years, so I don't know if it's a thing anyone should. It was you're right. There should be some sort of acknowledgement of the gross overreach of the government and the incitement of the, 3-lettered agencies to invoke a riot and to capture it in a way that made it look way worse than it was. The The only insurrection done without a single weapon. The only weapon fired killed an Air Force, an active duty member of the U.S. military who was unarmed, as is the rest of the crowd. So, no, I agree with you, Project. You talked me into it. Absolutely, 100% these people should be remembered for having the bravery to stand up in a time when they could tell an injustice had been done. Or as Trump lovingly likes to say, it was rigged, which it was.
Absolutely. I see it as no different than 9/11. That was a national tragedy, and we have a day of remembrance for that. We should at the very least have a day of remembrance for these people, if not an actual national holiday, because what happened is absolutely a travesty. All those people were patriots, and they're labeled as traitors to this country, as insurrectionists. And it's wrong. And I'm glad Trump has righted the ship partially by pardoning them. But I think they should be, like you said, they should be acknowledged for their patriotism, for their bravery, for standing up and saying, hey, this is wrong, let's fix it.
Well, and there is a lawsuit against the government, I think, for was it $80 billion or $50 billion. And there will become a time. Right now is a time of discovery as to the injustices that were done within the jail system, the police system, the FBI, hiring contractors to go out and incite riots. I don't know if you saw that interrogation with, I think it was the head of FBI, or I forget who it was, but he's like, no, we didn't have any of our guys out there. You're right. You're right. You didn't, because you hired them out, which is the new government go-to is we didn't do anything. We just hired these guys and we don't know how they do it. How they do it. So once all that stuff comes out, and then we're seeing with the former General Milley, the use of weapons, psychological warfare weapons, sound weapons, stuff that we've seen. What was it called? The Havana syndrome, where we've seen it used. Yeah, we've seen it used.
I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
Well, this stuff is coming to light, and I think once it's all come to light, then we build a memorial to these people that suffered and died because of their false arrests and betray. I hope their family might. It's just horrible because this has ripped family members apart, and it's not to say that was it a great idea to go inside the Capitol and start walking out with the podium and stuff? No, I disagree. But at the same time, how many of those were staged actors? And the people that were thrown in prison for, decades had like stood in the auditorium and looked around. Maybe I remember there was one guy, he took a piece of paper from Nancy Pelosi's office and left a quarter on her desk. And it was like 10 years he got. So, and then the conditions, that's what I'm really fascinated to hear about. The conditions, the broken bones of some of these prisoners, the torture methods that were being used on them, the people that weren't being released, or the people that they just didn't know where they were.
I'm not 100% sure they've all been released now, because after he issued that executive order, there were a number of judges that said refused to act on it. And to me, any one of those judges that did that need to be disbarred, removed from the bench, and prosecuted for that.
Right. And there's and this is the problem with the Republican Party, and I think is maybe inherent with the Republican Party, is that it's such a wide coalition of people that the ability to get out organized information, they don't do it well. You know, if this was the Democrats in power right now, we would have our storyline straight. We would know, you know, anyone that bent their will against that party would immediately be put on blast. And the Republicans are not good with this media, you know, with getting their side of, and they have opportunities now. There's no excuse for it. They have plenty of opportunities to get their messaging out, and they struggle with it. And thankfully, Project Constitution is you know, very good at putting together stories, putting together news stories, and getting it disseminated and put out to the public. But still, it's something they really do struggle at.
And a lot of that comes from the fact that our party is still fighting itself. You know, we still have the you know, the old school dinosaur generation, the boomers in there, and all the new Republicans, which are on board the Trump train, and the MAGA generation. And
Yes.
we're at odds with each other, and we need to get rid of all those old timers that are slowing us down, obstructing every single turn that Trump makes and that we're trying to do. You know, it goes to even to confirmation hearings. I watched a live confirmation hearing here for Pete Hegseth, and sitting there watching, you know, all the Republicans, Collins, Murkowski, and McConnell all voted no on Pete.
Did Lindsey Graham vote no?
No, he voted yes. As far as I remember, he did vote yes.
I saw Collins' piece in there. She wrote on Twitter her 10 paragraphs on how he doesn't know how to manage. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, your whole career has been doing nothing for the federal government, Collins. You know, like what is this judgmental tone of, you know, of moral character when you are in the swamp and have operated in the swamp for what, 30 some years now? And people are sick of it. And I thought for sure, Project, that Pete was not going to get in. I thought for sure, but now I'm even more convinced. People like RFK and what about Kash Patel? Is he in?
Not yet. This week we have Kash Patel. Who else?
Kash Patel, RFK.
Kash Patel, RFK, and I can't.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
her name is at the top of my head. The Democrat, female Democrat that just
Tulsi.
came over. Tulsi. I love Tulsi. I couldn't remember her name for a minute.
You know,
I feel like an idiot.
No, I'm glad you know, because I didn't know if Kash Patel had gone through it yet, but I don't see Kash Patel, RFK, or Tulsi, any of them getting put in. And what happened then?
I see them getting in, except for RFK. I think RFK is going to be a problem. I think the only way he is going to get through is through recess appointments, because, you know, Congress is controlled by the special interest, by the lobbyists for, you know, the healthcare companies and the insurance companies and stuff. And they are very, very, very strongly against RFK, because he wants to get in there and stop a lot of the corruption, a lot of the things that they're doing to hurt America and to hurt us Americans.
Well, and I've got some videos later on that I got for the show that I want to share with you and your audience on that very matter, because I'm finding it. I have my doubts, man, and maybe it's just my knowing the Republican Party for way too long, but pharmaceutical companies are not an industry to be fucked with. And I think there's already been quite a few public announcements of no support for RFK Jr. And do you think that maybe they can get the Democrats to sneak him in? Here's the thing. They've got to, I mean, do they want to face the wrath of a Trump administration right now?
I don't think it matters to them. As far as no, I don't think the Democrats are going to cross the line to get RFK over. They don't like him just as much as the Republicans that are in there.
Well, there's some hippies in there. They got some hippies.
Yeah,
you don't think
I don't.
Bernie there? Bernie's already talking smack about it.
No, because the Democratic Party. That's one thing I will say about the Democratic Party. When it comes to voting, they are very united. Usually, right down the party line. They're very few of them. Very few times where they will actually go against their own party and cross the line.
Well, they're a bunch
that's
of good
something that we struggle with. But yeah, but that's something that Nancy Pelosi's been cracking the whip on them hard over there, and I don't know whether she's got dirt on them or what, but they're very scared to go against and cross the line there.
It's just that the Democrats are in a higher hostage situation than the Republicans, because the Republicans fake that they care about morality and God, and then when they do naughty stuff, it's a big uh-oh, because not only can their party use it, but the Democrats can use it. But when it comes to the Democrats, man, they're drinking blood and they're eating babies, and so it takes a lot to get a Democrat out of office because everyone else was drinking the blood of the babies at the same time. So I think that's why everyone votes in unison, because God forbid you become the scapegoat for drinking adrenochrome. Was that too dark?
No, you're right, man. Unfortunately, life is dark.
Yeah, well, we shed a little light. We shed a little light on dark. So what do you expect of us?
I would rather have the truth and it be dark than have, butterflies and rainbows and brain rot and to just have us being bent over and effed in the ass,
And that's why these shows on X are doing so well. And we have 1,100 followers from what I can see right now, which is amazing, and already surpassing the viewership of the Rachel Maddow show. So people are searching for someone to just speak honestly with them. That was the beauty of the Joe Rogan format, was that you could listen to some. When they taught us language in class, and I was learning Russian, they said that for someone to be considered fluent in a language, you have to be able to hold a conversation for at least 2 hours. That's the consideration, if someone has learned a language or not. And when Joe Rogan came out with these 3.5-hour long podcasts, and Dan Carlin came out with his 8-hour 15-year series, people realized that they had an appetite to actually take 3 hours and understand a point to completion, where they had only been fed baby food for 60 years up to that point. And now we have, we're blessed. We have shows here on X. We have any podcast you want to listen to anywhere in the world you can listen to. And you have a moment to really gain perspective on something that our grandparents were sadly just propagandized, for the majority of their life about.
I agree, man. I absolutely agree. The other thing is that we are telling the truth, as opposed to, actually, we're saying what people are actually feeling in their head, what they're thinking, as opposed to the mainstream media, which is telling people complete lies. And a lot of the people that will watch us, they know it's lies, and they're like,
yes,
it's not right. But they hadn't up until now, up until technology and Rogan and all them and these podcasts, they didn't have another outlet to hear the truth, to hear, to have somebody what's the to when you to prove what they were thinking.
The ability to listen someone out and without twisting their words in a 30-second clip, and actually be able to complete in-depth thoughts and make transitions where you could really build your own knowledge. And it was started with Rogan, and God damn it, now Mike Tyson. You can go and listen to Mike Tyson and gain a bit of wisdom from the Mike Tyson as he's doing shrooms and smoking weed. It's absolutely amazing. There is no reason why we can't research a subject and get close to the answer. There's just too many people out there speaking their truth from their perspective. And when you have news shows like ours where we're able to compile these thoughts together.
Stop you right there. The R-Truth, that's one thing I don't like. I don't like that R-Truth bullshit. There is only one truth. There's opinion, and then there's, conjecture, but there is only one truth.
You're right. No, you're right. And that's my bad. I do think that perspective is very often construed as truth. And the reason for that is there has been a huge echo chamber created in both aspects of news. And that's the truth that we have to be very careful about. And that happens even on great networks like X, where you get in an echo chamber and what you are perceived as truth can very easily not be truth at all. But based off of your perspective, that's what you have attained. And so that's, I guess, what I'm saying is, like, I want to hear everyone's perspective before I come to what I think, is the truth. And I could still be wrong after making that assumption. And that's why we're open. That's why you have your email going through the bottom of this channel, is if you see something and it isn't true and we've misspoken, you have to let us know so that we can investigate that, because we're not here to be dogmatic and tell you this. This is a show where we're showing you the things that are going on with the Trump presidency, and also what's behind the scenes and the attacks that are going to happen from within his cabinetry.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you. Okay. You said you had some videos on this. You want to run with them first?
Oh no, absolutely. Go start with your stuff, bro. I've got some stuff I got planned after. I want to go over the stuff you've been reporting on, because it's been killer all week.
Gotcha. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to show you guys is just a little recap of everything Trump has done. Now, this isn't necessarily everything, but this is out of everything I've found so far, this is the best little, 2 or 3 minute recap that I've found as far as, hey, Mama M, as far as Trump's first week in office. So let's go ahead and watch this, and we will go from there.
The first week of Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office, and he wasted no time. The president ordering an end to federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, freezing federal hiring, and firing at least 17 inspectors general who serve as independent watchdogs of federal agencies. Trump also made good on his commitment to free those convicted for their actions during the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, commuting or pardoning some 1,500 rioters, including those who violently assaulted police officers. And on the world stage, taking aim at Russia, warning President Vladimir Putin of possible economic sanctions if he doesn't engage in negotiations with Ukraine, declaring it's time to make a deal. The president also pledging to take back the Panama Canal, threatening tariffs against China, Mexico, Canada, and all of Europe. It is a rapid rollout of Trump's agenda, with no issue more central to his presidency than immigration. President Trump declaring a national emergency at the border, shutting down refugee arrivals, ordering 1,500 armed, active-duty military to the border. And all of this will now be overseen by his new Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, sworn in after Vice President J.D. Vance had to cast the tie-breaking vote for his Senate confirmation late Friday. He takes over a department already deeply involved in delivering on Trump's America First agenda. For the first time in history, military aircraft transporting undocumented immigrants back to their home countries.
You there? We lose you?
Did you accidentally stop it, or would you say something?
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I was letting it play.
Oh, I thought it stopped itself. Yeah, that was it.
Oh, maybe it did. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I thought it was longer. We got bugs to work out, folks. Okay, neither one of us are professional here. All right, so this is only our second show. Give us the time.
This is 2, and we're still knocking it out of the park. So I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Phantom.
To do is be authentic and true. That's really, you tell the truth and be authentic with who you are, and people will listen. That's all it really comes down to. Don't lie. Don't try to be somebody you're not, and don't try to feed a bunch of lies and bullshit to people because they see right through it.
All right. So huge first week for Donald Trump. I mean, we talked about the pardoning of the January 6ers, but not only that, the immigration that he has started. You're already seeing reports of that. Liberal school teachers talking about how they're going to help sneak children away. So Trump, I mean, and that signed the declassification of JFK, RFK, and MLK. So
let's go by things. Let's go by these step by step, one by one here, instead of throwing them all together. Let's talk a little bit on each issue. Okay, so the first thing, I agree, Mama, and thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank you, Mama.
We appreciate all you guys' support that are here, by the way. Okay, so the first thing is the first thing was all the executive orders. Whole slew of executive orders. A lot of them are really good. Just absolute fire. He declared a national emergency on the border. That way we can send our military down there. We got military boots on the ground, troops down there to, keep people off the border and to keep us safe now. That's a huge plus. Got anything to add about that?
Well, it was so easy, and a lot of these things we're going to talk about, and how they help out Americans, our brothers and sisters. And there's been how many senseless deaths, which with a stroke of a pen, they could have decided to end it at any time. And thank God that Trump got into office, because another 4 years of this, it would have just destroyed the morale of anyone left over.
Oh, yeah, we were on our last leg. As far as, this country, we were on our last leg, man. And a lot of us were beaten down, and just, if Trump didn't get in, a lot of us really felt like we were going to head to another revolution. And, none of us want to be there, because that's going to be a very messy, dark time for all of us. But also about the border and everything. So Tom Homan's kicking ass right away. He's got in there. I don't know the exact number, but I know he's already done a ton of deportations, which is awesome. And they also found, I think, 80,000 of the 500,000 missing kids that Biden lost.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's another huge thing.
It's up to, I think, how many did you say? 70,000?
500,000 missing, and they found 80,000 of them so far, just in the first week.
The first. Oh, it makes you wonder. They knew where to look right away, didn't they?
Absolutely. And that's also goes to show that Biden and all them, they wanted those kids to go missing. They were doing it intentionally.
Yes.
And that also brings up my second point, where it's coming out now that the evidence is showing that the government was paying these NGOs to actually go over there and start the problem. They're paying them to import all these migrants and stuff over here.
Oh,
to flood our borders.
Absolutely well organized. I think it was Glenn Beck that did a series on it with the Blaze that showed a map of Central America and showed where these NGOs had set up their offices that were, receiving this government money. And it was all along the trail that led you straight to America. And what were these NGO stations using their brick and mortar buildings for? Well, it was to hand out credit cards. Not hand out credit cards. It was to hand out information packets on how to get clothing, on how to get funding, and how to get money through a debit card system, a prepaid debit card system, which would be automatically loaded onto their account to assist them through the journey. Also, a list of places where you could join others and get transportation. And a lot of these people, what you don't realize is you see these great caravans of people walking. They weren't walking from Guatemala all the way to our southern border. No, these NGOs were providing transportation. And then that last mile, they dump them off, and then they had to walk that last mile, which was a great photo op. So that is over with. The belief that you can just walk through en masse to the tune of 10 million people over 4 years is over. And now we're seeing planes landing. We're seeing countries deny the landing, and then after a quick phone call from President Trump, agreeing for the plane to land. So there's it's a beautiful thing, and it's all been done. I mean, it's just so fast. So it's nice to see that, when Trump, I don't know if people remember in 2016 when he got into office, it was slow, it was ugly, it was not organized. It took a long time for anything to really get going. And I feel like Trump has done more this first week than he did the first, 6 months of his first presidency.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you heard the latest thing where Colombia was refusing to take I think you mentioned a little bit there, they were refusing to take the deportations until Trump got on the phone with them. And then they changed their tune real quick. Although now I haven't been able to look into it yet because it just kind of broke as we were going live. But what I'm seeing now is that we have our first trade war. That now Colombia is imposing a 50% tariff on the U.S.
Here's Mike and turning it. Oh.
Huh? What did you say?
No. Well, no, I was just agreeing with you, but I thought my mic was muted, and then I realized I was being too much hype man. Go ahead.
But so apparently to combat what Trump did as far as tariffs on Colombia and other countries, Colombia thinks that they're going to institute a 50% tariff on the U.S. now. So to me, I just want to laugh out loud on that because there's no way. I mean, do they really think that they're going to be able to beat Trump in a trade war? That's never going to happen.
No, absolutely not. It's I don't know even if they might be doing this for their benefit. they say no, and then Trump calls them. He's like, "What we gotta do to get good relations between us and you?" And I'm sure they have a little list of demands, and Trump's making deals with them and engaging them for the first time in years. We were sending these NGOs down, and they weren't helping the local governments get better. That we were just taking their people.
And that's
So
not what they were meant for. That's not what all the money we earmarked for them and stuff. That was not what it was for. It was supposed to be, and I didn't agree with sending money over there anyway to help them do that. But supposedly the money was supposed to be to help them better their own country and support the locals there, so they don't have to try to come to the U.S. But that's not what was happening.
This is an old trick. This is an old trick used by Republicans and Democrats. It goes all the way back to before Ukraine. This is what they used to overthrow Ukraine's leadership, was NGOs. But they first did this in the Middle East. Do you remember the Arab Spring in the early 2010s?
Yep.
Yeah, that was orchestrated by NGOs. That was really the first experimentation of using NGOs as a vehicle to bring in ideology which would overthrow local governments. And they were named as classically we do in the American government, in ways that you would think would help. It's like Planned Parenthood. Does it really help you plan for parenthood? Does it help you plan not to be a parent? So take whatever names they gave them. It did the
exact opposite.
It's always the exact opposite. And and they figured they could do that out in the Arab Spring. And then they went to Ukraine and they did it. And it worked really good in Ukraine. In fact, it worked maybe too good. And so then that was their new way of overthrowing governments. This was their new policy as of 2012 or 2010. Let's be honest. It was started in 2010. And so now we're doing it again. And it's and that's what's nice about having Trump, is that we're not putting in institutions to overthrow your government anymore. We just want to deal with your government in a way where we don't have to deal with your criminals coming here. And any relationship we do have is based off of merely trade. Do you have good coffee beans? I tell you what, we have good corn. I'll trade you. Can we go back to that type of interaction between countries? And that's really all Trump wants to do. Is he wants to get out of throwing people out of power and putting our troops in situations where it's needless for them to be harmed just because we want to protect, a poppy field in Afghanistan. So it's if I was military, I'd be so relieved in knowing that my life isn't going to be put in danger's way needlessly for some douche in Congress that's going to get a paycheck for it.
Absolutely. And most of the military supports Trump, by the way, which is a great, obviously.
Well, and I haven't seen the numbers on that. I feel like a lot of low-level military people do, but higher up management, Biden fired how many naval generals? Or, it was like in the 700s, 800s. There was a cleansing that took place in 2021 of the military, and I don't know what type of leadership is left there.
Yeah, when I'm saying military, I'm talking about the boots on the ground, low-level military guys, the ones that are actually on the front lines. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yes. Mama M, to answer your question, by the way, we are streaming on YouTube, X, and I think we're on Rumble. I set it up, and I think we're live over there, so we'll see. But thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you to all 2,300 people right now in the live stream, and feel free to comment if you've got a thought you want to add to it. Put it right there in the comments. We'll try to get to it for sure.
100%. And did you also hear that Putin has come out as well echoing the same thing that Trump said, that if Biden didn't steal the election from him, there would never have been a Ukraine war. The only reason he had to go in there and do that is because of the crap Biden was doing.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And that stuff Biden was doing didn't start in 2020. The stuff Biden was doing started in 2014, 2013, with
Burisma. Yep.
Yes. And the removal of power. Was a Lukashenko, I think, was thrown out. And then the removal of the attorney general that was investigating Burisma, which was openly bragged about by Joe Biden. You know, I loved showing that clip to people because it just showed the power of the brainwashing that has taken place with people in the extreme left. They talked about all this corruption and bribery that Trump was capable of. And yet you have a vice president, not old 2024 Biden, 2025 Biden, very cognitively active 2014 Biden, laughing and bragging and playing a big dick contest, showing how he could get the attorney general for the country of Ukraine fired in 6 hours in order for Ukraine to get a measly $1 million or however, whatever junk of money that they were going to chuck at them. So talk about open corruption. And so when Putin comes out and says that, I get why the dude felt a little bit threatened. These were the same people that overthrew the government in Ukraine and then proceeded to kill native speaking Russians in their own soil and proceeded to close all trade to Russia. Threatened to become a nuclear ally, which they had promised they wouldn't do. And that's really the thing. If Mexico took back the Horn of Texas and then said that they were going to get nukes to put at our border, I think we would have a very similar response to what Putin's response was. And none of that would have happened if Trump had been reelected, because Trump would have told Ukraine, what are you doing? Make deals. Why are you threatening your neighbor? Like, they have all these resources, make deals with them. And instead, Biden came in, and essentially what that meant was people like Anthony Blinken and Victoria Nuland got to have their fun little war and got to wash all of their dirty money. They got to wash all of that dirty money they had spent during the Obama regime and cleanse it by funneling it through the Ukraine war. And now Trump's going to come in and show that, hey, we can come to a solution. And, what is it going to take? A couple months? And the 2 million people plus that died from this war, and it's not just 2 million people that died from this war. They were using...
Might I add?
Go ahead.
I said needlessly died, might I add.
Needlessly died, but it's not just that. The bread bowl of Europe, which is Ukraine, which has wheat production that feeds not only Europe but also feeds Egypt, Turkey. Their wars, which have been fought out in those farmlands, they were using depleted uranium bullets, which means that those fields will never be able to recover in their lifetime. So they have poisoned any remaining fields so that they're not used. And the fields that are left are now owned by Bayer Monsanto. So they raped Ukraine and convinced Ukraine to do it themselves. It's a horrible thing. And that's what these NGOs are capable of. And, thankfully, Trump is going to, stop this horrible abuse.
I agree. Oop, hold on, I didn't want to replay that. I just want to show this. Okay, there's the right there, the screen. All right, so yeah, in the first week, he closed the border. He declared a crisis at the, well, that's closing the border. He reinstituted Remain in Mexico. He introduced $1 trillion in new investments. And I'm not 100% on board with that, which we can talk about later with the AI thing or whatever, and the virus, or the not virus, but
mRNA technology.
Yeah, vaccine. Yeah, the mRNA. Yeah, I don't like that. He ended the catch and release, deployed troops to the border, enhanced vetting. He ended the DEI in the government, which is great. We're firing all these, DEI agents and DEI people within our government, completely getting rid of the whole department, the DEI department altogether. And I don't know if you saw that, but speaking of that, the ATF, they tried to pull a fast one on him and sneak the head of the DEI for ATF. They tried to sneak her into a new position, and she got caught doing that. They got caught doing that. So now I'm pretty sure her ass is eating grass.
Sneaky. I tell you what, those liberals, it's amazing where they burrow themselves into.
I agree.
This is the stuff I wanted to see his first term. I'm glad to see, and maybe it took it getting rigged. I think it did. I think it took getting rigged for Trump to realize that what these people were saying on the fringes of media was correct. He had to experience it. He had to experience the destruction of his name, the destruction of his profits, the constant attack from every angle, not only on TV, but legally from, people he considered were close friends at one point, people he reached his neck out for that turned around and just, he thought were going to be loyal to his ideals of Americanism, and they turned around and they were members of the deep state. And it ruined him for his second term. And now he's back. He's back after experiencing 4 years of that. And the only thing that saved him was the American people. And Trump has kept his word. And I suspect we're going to see a very different Trump from 2016. We already have. We're seeing one of the most motivated presidents in U.S. history. And it's exciting, man. Like, have you ever seen a president throw pens to the audience? Like, what a moment.
Yeah, exactly. He is, I love it. I love his energy. I love the no nonsense, attitude that he has. And to get to your point there, 100%, he had to experience it himself. A lot of us, if we didn't see what was going on firsthand, like there are so many people that were in the Democratic Party that have switched because of everything that happened. Like experiencing it and seeing it for yourself really brought it home for a lot of people that thought, because the media has for years and years and years, everybody like Alex Jones and Bongino, everybody else has been saying all this stuff that's going on has all been labeled conspiracy theorists and, they're just all full of shit. But it's not. And now that we've experienced it and lived through it, and Trump experienced it and lived through it and had it weaponized against him, now we are able to, see, their tactics, and it's not conspiracy. It is the truth. And now we know how to fight them, how to fight back against them. We have our roadmap, our game plan to beat them and to combat them, which I love. And Trump is taking that spear. He is the head of the spear, and he is taking it full throttle, man. And I love it.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I honestly think we had to suffer for the 4 years our nation had to. It had to get as close as it could to totalitarianism, which is really saying something, because you look at other countries like Canada and the UK and the type of totalitarian rule that place has become. You see all the time on Twitter, police arresting people for social media posts. You know, someone says he was offending somebody, might go ahead. That went Australian, but you get the idea. And here we got very close. We got very close to Kamala Harris being like, well, if you say something mean on YouTube, you should go to jail. And thankfully, thankfully, Biden was inept enough so that it showcased who the other bad actors were. And it was horrible enough. You know, young people remember, you know, how old are you, Project?
I'm 37.
You're 37. So we're the same age. So we both remember gas going up under President Bush. You know, I remember gas being 79 cents, 99 cents. And then I remember skyrocketing under President Bush. I remember
Trump had it back to $1 something. Trump got it back down. I forget the exact amount, but I remember Trump got it back down to $1 something.
Well, and that's the thing, man. It was in 16 years, gas had gone from 99 cents, from what I remember, the lowest 79, to under Obama, it was $3.50. And we weren't making the money the average that people make now, not including inflation, of course. It's ruined that too. But Trump, we were told under Democrat rule and under Republican rule that I wish I could fix the gas prices, but the president just doesn't have that type of power. Do you remember presidents saying that?
Absolutely. And it's complete lie is what it is. We all know that.
I believed it. And then Trump came in and said, I'm going to make a deal for oil. And boom, gas goes down to like $1.35. It cost me $30 to fill up my vehicle. People were buying premium luxury cars because they could afford it. And it was all because the president could indeed make enough deals to lower gas. And from that point on, I think everyone remembers that. Like that was like there was an awakening. That now whatever you say is like, no, Trump did that. We'll say what you want, but I remember gas I remember gas being cheap. I remember energy being cheap. I remember there being houses built just like crazy during that period of time.
Absolutely. And roadways too. Same thing with infrastructure.
Yeah. Everything was booming. Union was booming. Private sector was booming. Businesses were booming. Small businesses were booming. And that's not even going off of what Trump is saying he's going to do this term with as far as taxes and so forth.
Yep. So let's continue down the line here. So he established Dodge. That's another thing that's going to be that's a huge deal. That right there is going to help get our nation's deficit under control. All the spending that these Democrats have done for decades, just out of control spending. Not only are we going to stop hemorrhaging money, but we're also going to follow the money, track the money, find out where it went, hold people accountable for, I guarantee you there is absurd amounts of fraud. Guarantee it. and hopefully we're going to hold all these people accountable. I like that. I think, you know, like you said, was it Guatemala? Where was that state? The country you said there was the blueprint that Elon Musk did.
The country, the blueprint for Elon Musk.
Where they? I thought it was you that told me. There was a country that Elon Musk watched, or he's friends with the guy or whatever, that instituted like
Argentina, Javier Milei.
Argentina. Yeah.
Have you done
Like
research on him by any chance? It might be a fun little offshoot article wormhole for you to go down, but yes. And Mama M, I know exactly.
It slipped my mind.
I know all the money. So, you know, I think it should be called the Gulf of America. And to accept it, the gods made it snow there. So I think that's just proof that Gulf of America is indeed now in new hands.
The Gulf of America, I mean, it touches most of America. It's just common sense, you know.
You're saying it wrong, product. You're saying it wrong. It is southern states of which it borders, and so it is the Gulf of America. But I'll allow it. You know, I'll allow it.
Yep. Okay, so pardon the Jan 6 prisoners. We talked about that already. Drill baby drill. Obviously, that's another thing. And one of the executive orders he issued right from taking office was to ban any new existing windmills out in the ocean.
Correct. Save the whales.
Yep. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but
they're mad about that. You know, Trump goes out there, saves whole pods of endangered whales, and they're pissed. Like, well, you know, but still, bad energy is more important than whale safety. You know, but meantime, Trump making huge conservation efforts, and drilling doesn't affect the environment near as bad. I agree, Mama M. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But it's just, no, absolutely. Trump already experiencing pushback for windmill stoppage. Even though these things, when they burst, spill oil everywhere, burn down, and then while they're still working, disorient all animal life so that they just start dying or beaching themselves.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I don't know whether it's the sound they make or what, but it does something to the whales that makes them all beach themselves and die.
Well, and I have a strong feeling that's why these 5G towers make me look like a beached whale. And I think upon further investigation on the Phantom Facts channel, we might be able to get a collective lawsuit on that. But that's just personal opinion. Personally, it's allegedly. I'm going to throw that out.
I don't like the 5G towers. I don't like the smart meters. It's all bad stuff, and it affects us.
Yes, absolutely. And I've worked with. Well, I've been friends with someone who actually negotiated with tribes to allow these 5G towers on the reservation lands. You know, of course, because you know why not? It's not like the government hasn't fucked the natives over before. And he was so annoyed that there was any pushback. He not like it does anything. We had to explain, like, no, you know, you're not gonna get cancer, or your kids aren't going to go crazy, so on and so forth. So it just shows how entrenched this is within the bureaucracy of these governments.
Absolutely. Let's see. And the EV mandate, another great thing, because that was the stupidest thing in the world, in my opinion. We're not ready. Number one, not everybody likes electric. I personally don't particularly like electric vehicles because when the grid goes down, when something happens, you're not going to be able to charge them. What are you going to do? So I like to have the choice of what vehicle you want, whether you want gas powered or electric or hybrid, whatever it is. So he ended that, which is a good thing. Where'd my list go?
No, you're fine. I was just curious if it was the echo. Oh, go ahead.
So he ended the EV mandate. Hold on, it keeps starting on me for some reason. So he ended the EV mandate, which is a good thing. Another thing he ended, which isn't on this list, was the Biden tried to sneak in banning cigarettes in his last week in office. I don't know if you saw that or not, through the DEA, or not the DEA, the FDA tried to institute a menthol cigarette ban. Trump completely just ripped that out and said nope, which that's a good thing, because I'm a smoker personally. I know a lot of people don't like smokers or don't like smoke, but it's your body, your choice. That's how I like it. That's how I see it.
No, that only applies to people that aren't cis white males.
No. What I choose to do with my body is my choice. If I want to smoke and if it causes cancer for me, then so be it. That's I'm long as I have the knowledge that what I'm doing is harmful, then it is what it is. But I like that.
It was just quick sec. We are almost to 333 followers right now watching the live stream. All right, just significant number. Had to point it out.
Nice. As long as we don't hit the 666, we don't want that one. So he ended the weaponization of the intelligence against us, which is that's another huge deal. And who did he? I forget who did he pick to run the CIA? Do you remember that?
No, I don't have that on me right now. I can look it up though while you cover for me.
Gotcha. So so the weaponization of the intelligence, them using everything that we say against us, whether it be the social media companies getting involved with them to censor all of our posts, and that also goes to free speech.
John Radcliffe. It's John Radcliffe.
Yep. Radcliffe is going to get in there and shake things up. And another thing that they did was they actually pointed out that COVID was started from the lab and it was not natural. Which once again, that's something that we all knew, but they tried to cover it up.
Well, and I've got, let me see here if I can share just a little information about him, because I'm sort of curious as to who exactly this guy is. This is John Ratcliffe right here.
I don't know too much about him either, so we can actually learn a little bit about him together here.
Yeah, so he was served as the 6th Director of National Intelligence from 2020 to 2021. He was in the United States House of Representatives from 2015 to 2020. He was a lawyer, private practice until 2004 in Heath, Texas. In 2004 to 2012, acting United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Texas from 2007 to 2008. Ratcliffe was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 2014, and he served there until 2020. He was considered a very conservative member. Donald Trump announced on July 28, 2019, that he intended to nominate Ratcliffe to replace Dan Coats. Now, he withdrew after senators raised concerns about him. Trump evidently not caring this time around, so that's good. So now I'm curious because with
I don't think he needed to be confirmed either. I think he was one of those that could just be appointed without having to go through confirmation.
Correct. And which makes it more interesting that he would withdraw. Is it because he knew what was going on with the rigging of the elections and just decided it wasn't prudent? What was the reason why he didn't want to run? Let's find out. Carbondale Community High School. I've been to Carbondale, Illinois. University of Notre Dame. CIA, once again, classic Catholics. It's just the Catholic wing of you. Have you done any history on the CIA?
I have not personally. I mean, I know a little bit of background on it, but I haven't deep dived into it.
Yeah, lots of Catholics. Not saying that it's the Catholic Church. I'm just saying the group of fellas that started this. It was a good old boys club that just so happened to have organized themselves and met each other by being Catholic. So it does seem that throughout history, religion, highly religious people, whether it be Catholic or some form of legalistic traditional religion, play a high role in the CIA. So this guy mounts with that as well. International Studies, Southern Methodist University School of Law. So interesting from Texas here, huh? Yeah. So that's the guy running the CIA.
Well, Trump trusts him, so that's really all that matters to me. Yeah, I trust Trump, and if Trump trusts him, then there we go.
And who knows? Like, with the release of the files, maybe Trump gets completely rid of the CIA. And in doing so, he gets to clear out a lot of these bad eggs. I wonder that too, because supposedly Elon's getting rid of a bunch of this stuff, right? And if you look at what was done in Argentina, that includes some of the positions that were, given cabinet memberships to. So maybe you pull these rhinos out of their positions because they're lust for a cabinet spot, and then you'd be like, hey, you give up your governorship or you give up this seat, come over here, and then 3 months later, Elon comes in and says, what actually do you do that benefits the American people, and gets rid of that entire department. And now you have cleared the way for new governors that are more likely to be in line with you in the line of their people, of their states. I'm curious to see if that isn't a play, because I mean, supposedly we're getting rid of needless government entities.
Absolutely. Trump is playing 4D chess when everybody else is playing checkers. So he is 100% calculated in everything he does. So what you're saying could very well be part of his plan, He's already said he was going to get rid of Department of Education. So we know that's coming.
Long time overdue. Put power
back in the states.
Well, put power back into the hands of parents.
And I love another thing that as far as being able to get grants and stuff, a lot of Trump, I think one of the things, I don't know whether he did it yet or whether he said he was going to do it, but one of the things he did was people that homeschool their kids are able to get that same money as if somebody going to public school.
Right. Or if someone wants to put their kid in a religious school, that tax money, it can go towards that. Parents have the choice. That's how it should be, and parents, it shouldn't be dependent on your kids getting a shitty education, whether you get funding from the government or not. That's not fair. Especially, especially with and we've played clips on the Phantom Fact show of teachers union where they are just radical idealists that have no concern about teaching children. So, to just break up that huge sector of government control, and give people a chance to reconnect with their kids is one of the most beautiful things you could do.
100%. And another thing I look forward to is Trump said he's going to get rid of the IRS altogether. He's going to turn it into the External Revenue Service. He's going to end. I actually do. Yeah, I have. Well, the thing I have a clip of, he actually said that he's going to turn it into the External Revenue Service and get rid of that in one of his speeches. I don't have that clip, but the clip I have is from, I think last night when he was in Vegas, where he said that he was going to take all of the new IRS agents that Biden hired, and he's going
immediately halted the hiring of.
I'm sorry.
And he's going to. So he's going to take all of the agents that Biden hired and move them down to the border. And if they don't like it, then they're fired. So let's watch that clip.
The hiring of any new IRS agents, they hired or tried to hire 88,000 new workers to go after you, and we're in the process of developing a plan to either terminate all of them or maybe we'll move them to the border. I think we're going to move them to the border.
Yep. And he actually did mention, because somebody yelled out in the crowd last night from that Las Vegas rally, they said, income tax. So he actually mentioned, I don't have that clip queued up, but he did mention in that clip that that's what he's working towards. That's what he wants to do. He wants to completely get rid of the IRS altogether, completely end income tax, rely solely on tariffs from other countries. And he said, if his tariffs work out, his exact words were, if his tariffs work out like he thinks, then we're going to end the IRS and income tax. I mean,
and he's taking shots across the bow, man, and I love it, because the one thing presidents haven't done for a very long time is make threats to the Federal Reserve. And within that speech, he did mention that. He mentioned how there was no income tax from the beginning until 1913. Well, what happened in 1913, Project Constitution? The beginning of the Federal Reserve, and where it was planned out and set up, and then later the installation. And really, the Federal Reserve has hamstrung Trump's economy the last time he was in office. And I think he's making a point by saying, hey, you're hearing chatter about currency backed by crypto and other aspects. Is he going to try to get rid of this clearly corrupt non-federal organization, privately owned organization that controls the American government by its you know what? So I'm curious, is it not only going to be a reprieve on taxes for people like us, but is he also going to get rid of the corrupt institution that is the Federal Reserve, bringing together libertarians and Republicans for the first time in history, if he was able to accomplish something like that?
I would like to see that. I don't know if he will or not, but he definitely understands that they're a problem, and they worked against him during his first term. Well, and like I said, he's playing 4G chess.
Yeah, he don't have time to deal with them this last 4 years, and and we're going to go into that in the last part of this show here, to show just the type of people that are associated with the Federal Reserve, and Trump needs to try to get. I mean, if he could get us away from that, wow. Because it's been 110 years, the dollar has 100% crashed, and I think it's been proven that it's a failed experiment.
100%. Absolutely. And he also said that he does not want I think he even signed an executive order banning a global electronic currency or whatever. What is it? Global? What's the name of it?
I'm not for sure.
Currency or global.
The Amero?
Somebody in the chat might know.
Yeah.
No, they want to make a global digital currency. And Trump signed an executive order banning that.
Yeah. Yes. The World Economic Forum or something like that.
Yeah, whatever that thing was that he was at this week.
Mm-hmm. I think it was the World Economic Forum, the one where he showed up in video only.
Yeah. Joel's 100% right. Getting rid of FEMA. That's another thing he announced when he was in North Carolina. He said that he wants to completely get rid of FEMA altogether. He said they're a cumbersome, expensive, burdensome organization that doesn't do jack shit for the people. He said it would be much better in the hands of the states to handle their own emergencies with the assistance of money from the federal government. And I think that would be a huge win, because every time we get a natural disaster that comes around, especially in conservative areas, FEMA is inept, completely inept. They do a horrible job. I don't think I've ever heard something good about FEMA from one of these disasters in the last 10 years, at least.
No, and we're reaching out to people that have experienced that. Hopefully we can get someone on who's boots on the ground. But it's absolutely insane, even in areas like my old stomping grounds, where my partner's family's from. Whole towns were destroyed, and FEMA comes in and they make it as difficult as possible for you to get any assistance. Meanwhile, they take up all the hotel rooms so no one native living there can stay in their own hometown. It's a train wreck of bureaucracy, poorly ran, and the fact that they've been muddling around in North Carolina for how long, and it took Trump showing up there and directing what needed to be done, like some general contractor, for anything to actually be accomplished. Just shows, it just shows.
And some real talk there. As somebody, I've been homeless before. I've had to go through the system and deal with that. And I must say that red tape is one of all the government red tape, the hoops you have to jump through just in order to try to get help that's supposed to be for you, makes it to the point where you don't even want the help. You can't. It's impossible to get. Like, there were times in my life where I was living in my car having a horrible time, and I could not get the help I needed because I didn't meet the prerequisites for their stupid little programs. But yet I'm supposed to be the target audience of the people that they're trying to help, people that were in the position I'm in. It's just, anytime you get the government involved in oversight like that, it hurts us. If it's something that we the people can handle on our own, then we're a lot better handling it by ourselves through maybe nonprofit organizations or whatever than getting the government involved, because the government is atrocious when it comes to that fact.
Well, and I also spent a moment of my life homeless in a campsite and then homeless in my own vehicle. And And to me, there's parts of me that appreciate that I went through that, because if you are going to go through that and then to turn around and succeed, I think shows merit of character. And so the same thing for you, like we understand the system at the base level and have been able to dig ourselves out or have a path to dig ourselves out. And I think that's really the problem with the left is when they talk about the poor and wanting to give them programs to help, these programs are inefficient. They don't actually help the poor. They don't do anything to help the poor. They help the administrative staff that says they're helping the poor. But if they help all the poor not be poor, the administrative staff doesn't have a job. So of course they ask for more money. I've been an electrician for years, and I've worked in schools, and they have to spend the school budget. So they'll put in crazy nonsense electrical stuff just so they can say they used up all the money by the end of their fiscal year, and then they can request more money for the next year. And it's a broken system. And meanwhile, homeless people are suffering. There's a huge drug epidemic, and there's no actual programs to help these people. And any program that does help them, well, hey, God forbid they get any help because they're not funded through the federal government. They're not using federal government documentation or teaching materials. And with Trump getting rid of these bureaucracies, it opens up the ability for the states to find personal solutions for their own areas and get the government out of making those decisions. Let Iowa decide what's the best solution for taking care of their homeless situation. Let California figure it out. If you want homeless people, then you get to keep it. You don't have to follow anything.
I agree. And I want to just make one more point too, that one of the things I've noticed as a as somebody who's been in that position is unless you are a woman with children or you're an illegal, you're not getting help. Like there is no, if you're homeless and you're a white cis male, you're not going to get shit from any of these programs. And that's sad, because a lot of times, the man of the family is the ones that are doing most of the work. They're out there busting their ass trying to support their family. And a lot of these programs make it so that, that you can't even get any help. So that's just another tangent that we go in another day, but I just wanted to point that out.
I think it's valid because the programs out there now come from people who have never been in those situations. So it looks good on paper, but it doesn't work. Like a Mama M here, for example, single mama 3 with a job, applied for food stamps, got $29 a month. Quits job due to lack of transportation, qualifies for probably $3,000. Why?
Problems. That's one of the problems with this, with the system that's set up is they incentivize you not to work. In order to get help, you have to not have a job. If you work, even like they say, they try to pretend, like, oh, well, if you're disabled or if you're blah, 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 you can work up to a certain amount of hours and still, qualify for benefits. What they don't tell you is if you even work 1 hour, then your benefits go from, getting 100% of your benefits to only getting like 10% of your benefits. So like Mama M, where she should probably, should get $200 of food stamps. Just the fact that she had a job took her then down to $29, which is completely wrong. It makes people not want to work because if they can't get it, it's supposed to help people out and give them that next boost. They're not supposed to rely on it. And the system right now is set up to where you have to rely on it. People are relying on it. If you try to work on, to better yourself, they punish you for doing that.
You know what? Like, people, wh- just because people are poor doesn't mean that they're not smart or they don't understand the gravity of their situation, but they're not given any type of path forward. And that's because they want them to stay poor, and the only option to not being poor is you sacrifice your children to the public system and you both go out and get jobs that require vast amounts of your time, too much time. Uh, oh, and then on top of that, what happens to the people that actually suffer? Like in this case with Mama M, single mom of 3 with a job. You want to set a good example for your kids. You don't want to create a cultural need for dependency on the government. And the system is designed for that. It's not designed to help people become independent, strong people. It's designed so that people cannot live without it once they're on it. And that is a drug. And
And that goes back. That goes back to the people that are in charge of all this for years have been the Democrats. All these socialist policies and systems, they want to set it up like that because they want to get rid of the middle class. They don't want people to succeed. They want you to have to rely on the government. They want to create a slave system where you have to work and do what the government says, or else you can't survive. They want the rich, the super rich, benefiting off of the backs of the super poor, which is essentially slaves to the rich people. And that's what they're trying to create. And that's what the only thing these programs are doing right now, currently.
glad to hear that, Mama M. Well, if you're listening to a show like this, obviously they turned out well. But I'm sure you met a lot of single mothers who it did not go well for their children because they were not able to, or chose not to, or were not trained how to by their parents to attend to their kids. And we're seeing we're seeing now the results of single motherhood in the United States with the grown men in this generation, and it's not good. There's high amounts of suicide among young males. Way more suicides, eightfold in the last 4 years. And of course, they're like, we have no clue why. But the reason why is because there hasn't been um, a concrete family system for quite some time. And the theory that was portrayed in TV for decades now was that you don't need no man, or that project. When was the last time that there was a show that you remember that portrayed the father as a role model, a patriarchal role model that people came to for advice?
Not since the 50s. Not since like Leave It to Beaver. That's about the last time, to be 100% honest. They betray the male as the bumbling buffoon, idiot, whatever. They don't.
And then you had moms who raised their kids while posting on TikTok saying, I don't need no man. And what happens to this boy when he becomes a man? And he realizes that his mom has no value for him. And he then begins to treat his relationships the way his mom viewed them. And that's, now we're seeing that reaction, this, either that or weak fathers that are never there.
Absolutely. Yeah, the stable home. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of women that are independent and are great moms and can do that thing, but generally, it's good for a kid to have both parents in their life. That is a stable environment that.
Yeah, strong, positive male role models, if it's not possible. You see a lot of single moms succeed with boys as long as they surround them by successful males. And and sometimes, listen, ideally, hey, if you're starting to get the age of marriage, take it seriously. And and I think now we're seeing with Generation A that with Generation A, maybe Generation Z, marriage is not treated like they treated marriage in the 80s and the 90s. If anything, they avoid it, or uh you know it's especially it's considered long term. So, and that's how it should be. So, but if you come across a situation where you are a single parent, it doesn't mean your kids are going to become horrible either. It just means you got to put it's a lot of extra work, like Mama M knows. So it takes a lot of extra work.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that I personally haven't raised any kids. I made it a point specifically not to try to not to have kids for that reason. I saw the way that our world is developing, how people are, how everything's going to shit. And I didn't want to be responsible for bringing a kid up in this generation. But I'm glad things are turning around now. And if we can keep up this momentum and keep it going, then I think that we will have a prosperous country, and the kids, our next generation, will thrive. And I let's all hope for that anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely, 100%. All right, what else we got here?
The last thing I wanted to bring up before you do whatever you had to show is at the, which I don't have the video of it. I should have queued the video up. Maybe we could find it. Maybe not.
I'll buy you some time. That's absolutely. I can buy you some time.
Well, go ahead and do your thing then. I'll pull the video up I want to talk about.
No. Well, so I mean, the biggest thing for me, and I hate being beating a dead horse, but I don't think we need to take a breath and step back and look at the entirety of the historical timeline of America and how it is going to change in less than 2 weeks. And that is the declassification of what happened to JFK. And it's going to be, in the end, it's going to be the beginning of a healing, I hope, because JFK is what starts this whole descent into what ended up Joe Biden. All these same characters were involved. Their kids were involved. And they murdered perfectly good people that the American people had voted for, or that the American people were going to vote for, or that the American people chose to understand. This stuff about MLK Jr., I love it. But MLK Jr. as a man was a person, what? You get a horrible human being because he did cocaine off of strippers' butts, or like to drink and party. Great things to do? No. When you're an adult, not a great thing to be doing, especially if you're raising a family. But MLK was also tasked with watching German shepherds tear apart black people on marches of his own government, while he only said to do everything peacefully. MLK also taught people that violence wasn't an answer, despite every horrible thing that was done to them. And he said that content of character is what mattered most. I mean, that speech is a trigger to every generation since it's been uttered in the 60s. So, okay, yeah, I mean, you got a lot of dirt on MLK, and nobody's saying like, hey, you know what? You should party like MLK. Yeah, but no one says that. People point out to the fact that he had an idea, a dream, and that is what he chose to share, despite his imperfections. And so that's why it's important to see who killed MLK Jr., because this message that he was teaching, for once, Americans were having a real moment of unity. This racial war that had been propagated so well through media and through the military now comes to a forefront with MLK Jr. and it scared them Southerners. And they tried to delay what will eventually happen, and that is unification of Americans. And they can't stop it. As much as divisive as they want to be, in the end, Americans look out for Americans. Does it take something horrible to happen? Usually, but that's usually how it works in normal families too. So these people deserve to pay. And if paying means open knowledge and the history books being changed and Oswald being, released from the dungeons of a patsy to, are we going to have a day for Oswald? Like, this poor guy and his family.
We should. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, do you rename the FBI building, the Edgar Hoover building, to Oswald? What do you do? Because you can't pretend it didn't happen after you release this. It has to be in the conversation in textbooks for the rest of American history. As long as America's a country, this has to be taught in the history books. That's 100%. Huge.
And we have to know the truth. The American people deserve to know the truth of what happened. A lot of us already know what happened, but we need to be vindicated. We need to have it, because they've been told that we're all just a bunch of conspiracy theorists and stuff. We need to have it proven. We need to be vindicated. And it does need to be taught. The truth needs to come out. The truth does need to be put into the textbooks. Same thing with 9/11, with what really happened at 9/11. That same thing. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Phantom Fact Society's channel on YouTube, he just did a podcast this week talking about the truth of 9/11, going to it from an architectural standpoint. And it's you really got it. You should watch it. It's super informative. I've been too busy this week, but I wanted to cut it down into shorts to post on here for you guys. But you definitely go check it out.
Oh, it's been absolutely. Richard Gage came on the show.
Very smart man.
Architect for over 30 years, designed skyscrapers in San Francisco. And 18 years ago, started researching the three greatest structural failings of skyscraper history. And the third one just happens to be the most intriguing because it's the only building in all of skyscraper history to collapse due to fire, office fire. So,
as he was saying that it should have never happened. It was built to be, collapse proof pretty much.
Yes. Well, yeah, every build. Yeah. It's so it's better to watch it just because he brings his own slides and videos. So you can actually see the things he's bringing out. And these are the same things he's been talking about for 18 years, but he has streamlined it into an hour and a half presentation. And then, of course, we asked him some questions afterwards. So if you get a chance, Phantom Fact Society on YouTube, Phantom Society here. And check out Richard Gage's episode. Tinfoil Terrorism is the title of it. So thank you for the plug.
All right, I found that clip I was looking for.
Now let's see this.
Okay, so what we're going to watch now is to set you guys up. When Trump went to Los Angeles, he met with that stupid Mayor Ass. Really her name's Bass, but I call her Mayor Ass. So he met with Mayor Ass and a bunch of other politicians talking about the the disaster fires and stuff. And he handed her ass. He absolutely handed her ass. And he fought for the people on the ground. He went there in person, talked to the people on the ground, and they told him what their biggest problem is, that they're not being allowed back into their properties, back into their homes to clean it up and to start the rebuild. They're being told 18 months, 18 months. You have to wait 18 months before you go in there and you can even start to clean up or rebuild. And Trump just hammered her, saying, no, these people need to go in there now. Let them in there now. They want to clean it up themselves. And she tried to say, oh, well, you'll see it. But it's definitely a good clip. Yeah, man. All right, so let me go ahead and I'm gonna have to go back to X to play it. Give me a second. All right, so here we go.
But I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope
That
you're
will not,
right.
you can hold me to it.
There's 4 groups said that.
No,
That would be, they should
No,
be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
that will not be the case. First we have to take care to make sure that there's not getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody had their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help. You're a
You got it.
builder.
I told you, you will have no permit problem. There will be 0 delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
And
But
the resources.
I am more worried because I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly, and they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste. What's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
Nope.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay.
You can come back and check.
Very
Mr.
important.
President?
Atta boy, Trump. Atta boy. I haven't seen that. That's absolutely amazing. No, good on him. He needs to apply this pressure. Now, when was that posted? Can you hear me? Testing. Oh, we got some problem there with Project Constitution, but have no fear. He shall return. Absolutely amazing, though, that you can get things done immediately. The fact that Trump came in to North Carolina and all of a sudden stuff is getting done, money's rolling into the organizations that actually help the people that live there. All of this stuff is just absolutely beautiful. And it almost makes it feel if you could do this as president and Biden wasn't doing this, I mean, what does that say, people? What does that say? You had a party that was capable of going down there and finding out exactly what you needed, and they didn't. In fact, what they did was send $600 billion to Ukraine, or trillion, whatever it is at now. And they let you think you're going to lose your property, sleep in a tent in the snow, and they forced you to pay property taxes with no relief. They gave you $750 that you had to pay back, and if you didn't, they got your land. What? I mean, I feel like that is. Oh, that cannot be allowed to stand. Once you are rebuilt out there in the Carolinas, there has to be a serious moment of thought. And I think there is. People are starting to realize everywhere that politicians matter. Politicians matter. What they're doing matters. It can affect you at home. And for the longest time, and you'll hear this from older generations, it's like, throw your hands up in the air. And no, your politicians matter. The judges that get elected matter. These people in day-to-day life that you didn't think had any effect on your life actually do. They prevent you from starting a business. They prevent you from starting a restaurant. They shut down your restaurant. They prevent you from having a church. It's come down to the community level now. And it's nice to see this pushback and a president that's willing to go down there. And who is that? Who is that lady? Is that the mayor of LA?
Yeah, Mayor LA, Catherine Bass.
This guy comes down and strong arms your mayor into helping you. Like, your mayor should know what you need and be like, no, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. Instead, the president has to come down and figure out what's needed. And people are starting to realize,
boots on the ground. He wants to actually get in there and get these people help, though. He sees the ineptness of the California government, and he wants to get there and boots on the ground, man. I love it. I absolutely love it. We finally have a do something president, a do something leader that is not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's not afraid to ruffle feathers. He just wants the best thing for the American people, and that's it. Common sense. He says it all the time. This is the common sense administration. It's all about common sense. And yes, Mama M, that is amazing. That is great.
Yes, it is. It's and let's not let our foot off the gas pedal. Let's ride this. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep digging, finding more stuff to talk about that Trump can take care of. If he and what's this? I saw they're positioning for a third term to be allowed for president.
Yeah, man, I love that. Trump actually said in his speech that, and he said it kind of jokingly, but it's not a joke. Because I think Nancy Mace, somebody in Congress, I think it was Nancy Mace, but I'm not 100% sure. But she actually proposed a bill that would allow Trump to have a third or fourth term. And I'm 100% for that, because all the damage that Biden and Obama and all them have done, it is going to take more than 4 years to get this country back on track. And yes, it's not like they want to call him a dictator. It has nothing to do with being a dictator, because he still has to go through an election. It's not like he just is automatically president for another 4 years or 8 years or whatever. There still is an election, and the people still have to vote and decide they want him as the president. But it's just to allow him to be able to run again, and I have no problem with that personally.
No, I don't think it bothers me. In fact, I'd be okay with if we just capped everyone at 3 terms. Congress, presidency. Let's call it a wrap after 3 terms, people. That's whoop. Call it good. All right.
I would like, before you start your thing, I would, on this topic, I would like to see Trump. I mean, not just Trump, but I mean, in general, like the presidencies, I would like to not have term limits for presidents. I want term limits for Congress, 100%. They need it, but it's less important for the president. We need to have more people. The president we need to have stability on the world stage. And the only way you can present stability is if you have a leader that's going to be there over a long term. That if he makes a deal with another country that they know in 4 years it's not going to get overturned, so their deal didn't mean jack shit, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and we would love to hear your comments to what you think. Well, how do you feel about that? Do you think term limits. What do you say? 2 terms or 3 for Congress?
2 terms for Congress.
2?
Yep.
2 terms for Congress, and then
I'm not going to say unlimited. I take that back. There should be a
4.
term limit.
I personally
Yeah.
feel 4. Like, if you can't get a good system, and listen, you still have elections every 4 years. It doesn't mean that you're done with that charade. Like, you still have to account to yourself. You got your job review every 4 years. If you're doing crappy during that point.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, you get taken out. If you do good, you get to serve for 16 years. I think, Obama loses to Trump in 2016 if Obama's running again.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, it would be interesting. I think it would have to take an amendment, wouldn't it, to the Constitution? Would it? Who would have to?
I don't think so. Because it does not say anywhere in the Constitution that they can only serve for 2 terms. That is something that Congress put into effect. So all it would take is Congress voting on it and saying otherwise.
Just repealing it, huh?
Yep.
That's interesting.
But Mama brings up a good point there, though. If they did change that and allow for 3 or 4 terms or whatever, then that would allow Obama and Clinton and all them to potentially run again in the future as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, though. I don't think either of them would get reelected. It's too late. The gig is up. They've already lost all credibility, these people. Obama's sleeping with Jennifer Aniston, who we all know is a dude. And then Bill Clinton's been to Epstein Island how many times? So, corruption catches up with everyone, especially when you're in that big of a spotlight. And it caught up with Obama, it caught up with Clinton, it caught up with Bush. Biden, it was already caught up to him like 20 years before he ran for president. So the only way that happens is if we see a rigging of the election. And, if we're going to have that, we're going to have to make sure every vote counts and there's no funky dory business going on. And so, what's going on with that as far as legislation? I haven't heard anything about that. And maybe that's coming, but that's going to be an uphill battle. And he's going to have to start that rather sooner than later to establish some sort of requirements on a federal level for elections. Because it is beyond corrupt right now.
Oh, believe me, that is 100% on his radar. And that is one of the things he's going to accomplish fast. Like, that is top priority on his list. He's already talked about it. He wants to completely get rid of digital, no computer voting, go back to paper ballots, and requiring actually show your ID to vote. So, and a bunch of other things, but that needs to happen. He will get it done, because having free and fair elections that aren't rigged, that's key to everything. That's consequential to having our republic as a whole. We can't even function if we don't have a fair, free election.
Yes, no, I agree. All right, buddy. I've got a little segment here I've been working on for probably the past 3 months, and something just triggered me this morning while scrolling on X. This came up, and what this is a wonderful tutorial for parents from a group called Amaze, AMAZE, amaze.org. And guess what they specialize? All right, so first of all, there's several sections to Amaze. The first section is instruction for parents. That's the video we're going to watch here right now. And this is instructing parents on how to handle issues for someone that's in kindergarten when it comes to gender.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm thinking that tonight we should get back to a really important subject we talked about early on, the gender roles or rules our kids are exposed to.
What bothers me is when toys are made in girl and boy versions. Even bingo. Seems like companies are just trying to make twice as much money.
I think you're right about that, Adele. And yet, for that very reason, toy stores are great places for helping kids notice.
I know you're steaming over there, Project. So feel free to pause this at any time to interject. But already off to a strong start for amaze.org.
And think about gender labels. They give us an opportunity to reinforce the message that kids can be who they are. They don't have to fit in with what somebody else thinks they should be or should like to play with.
But when they get older, they'll be picked on if they're different. I was teased in the 3rd grade by other boys, so mean they made me cry. I was raised to think that you had to prove your masculinity constantly.
All right, so right away, there's a couple things I want to establish, right? They pick bullying. They haven't really established why the bullying happened. But now, we're starting to fall back. We're going into this blind a little bit, but this appears to be a not only multiracial couple, but the multiracial gay couple here. So I take it that's why he was being bullied. But of course, no one likes to see kids bullied. So they're going to play on your heartstrings right away. All bullying. You don't like bullying, do you? Well, that's what happens. That's what happens.
Well, I'm sorry. But as soon as you get these kids talking about, I want to identify as a dog and all this other bullshit, your people are going to get even more bullied. That's going to lead to more bullying. It's a cycle, and it's ridiculous. It really does make my blood boil.
And this is not meant to help your kids get through school. This is meant to help you play the victimhood card when things happen to your kid because you're forcing this ideology on them. This is what this training is for, right? And this is supposed to be shown to parents and school teachers before they breach this subject in class to kindergartners.
Or you might lose it. What a ridiculous idea that is. Where the heck is my masculinity? I just had it a minute ago. My kid sister Carmen was teased about being a lesbian because she liked to play baseball instead of softball. And she felt really stuck because our aunt was gay and we always thought it was cool. So Carmen didn't want to say, "Don't call me that," as if it was a bad thing. But she did want to defend herself from the name calling somehow.
Unfortunately, lots of kids use sex and gender to bully other kids, and kids who are targets often feel powerless to make it stop. That's why parents and teachers need to challenge bullying right away. Children need reassurance that there's no right way or wrong way to be a male or female. Gender is just a part of who we are, not a measure of our worth.
My friends have a 5-year-old son who insists he's a girl. It hasn't been easy for them, but they let him take the lead on this.
They let their 5-year-old take point.
Unbelievable.
Hey, Junior, we're looking
and
at
I guarantee you this was funded with federal dollars to make this.
We're doing a little dive on it, but don't you worry. We go into the funding and everything. But I wanted to establish what I was forced to watch at 6:30 this morning. 6:30 this morning, I realized that there's an organization out there selling this to school districts as a teaching guide. Oh, no. Okay. All right. Here we go.
My friends have a 5-year-old son who insists he's a girl. It hasn't been easy for them, but they let him take the lead on this.
Oh, how heroic. How heroic. It hasn't been easy for Megan Fox, who hates men, to have her 3 boys turn into girls. But it's so brave of her. It's so brave.
Their preschool is supportive too.
The preschool! preschool.
I call it child abuse. Child abuse, not heroic.
School. The preschool. The preschool Project Constitution.
I give them a lot of
Young
credit.
man, cradle to the grave.
I don't know how I'd react if it were my child.
It's not a bad thing that you feel tested by this idea, Fiona.
It's okay to fight your natural emotions, Fiona. We get it. But you're already getting scissored by Beth over there, so you should learn to be okay with it.
People who are transgender help everyone think through their own assumptions about gender.
It also helps me think about what's really important to me. I just want my child to be honored for who he or she really is. And
He needs to be honored. What did he do to deserve honor? Can you imagine okay, we're both the same age. Can you imagine someone from the greatest generation sitting at a dinner table with us and him being like, I'm just really honored to be sitting in your presence? No, because you haven't earned anything. You're learning. You're learning. Why are you putting this responsibility on a 5-year-old? Jimmy, do you want to be known as Jane or Jim? You got to figure this out. Tim Bob over there knew that he wanted to be a boy. How come you don't know? You should know this. This is a poor 5-year-old. He just wants to play with his Hot Wheels or, whatever.
And another thing that bothers me is not just that, but they also want to try to bully you into becoming trans or bi or whatever, or by the subliminal messaging in the media. Everything, every TV show you watch, every music video you listen to, every song, whatever, it all has the same crap. It all has biracial people with lesbians and all kind. I mean, just they can't help themselves but just try to push it on you to make you feel like you're the odd one out for not being for not being one of these crazy fucking people. Excuse my language.
No, you're absolutely right. And so, in a moment of fury, I decided to try to find out who, is this just some like weirdo on YouTube, or what is this little amaze.org? And so here I went to their website here, amaze.org, right? This is let's just glance around here. Let's play around at this site. Look at all their locations. Where is that? New Mexico, Georgia, Florida, UK, Germany, Africa, Japan, New Zealand. Yeah, interesting interesting locations. Educators. Look at this. U.S. and International Educational Standard Cross-Reference, educator toolkits, lesson plans that incorporate. No, we're not gonna. We're just gonna wait. Okay. Educator talks. Look at all these people. All right. So then I go here. There's a parents section here, of course. Using Amaze for parents. Right now, they've got. It is crazy. This is brainwashing techniques is what they're training people to do here. So you go to class as a child and they have a technique for brainwashing you, but for the parents, these guys have gone all out. They're going to teach the parents how to properly indoctrinate their kids. That blows my mind. Look at these questions. This is gender roles, gender expectations. That's a video we watched. Responsibility, a K through 12 curriculum. So sure, 5 years old to graduating. Whenever you want to pop this out on them. Target grade, though. There's a target grade here. Grade 6, lesson 2. At least by the end of 8th grade. Come on. Don't be slacking. Get it in there. You can just, you can Let me see if I can zoom in here. I mean, look at this. Say to the class, imagine for a moment that an alien landed from outer space who's doing some research on different creatures on our planet. Right, boys on the board. How would you describe someone who's never encountered a boy before? And then the kids, of course, are tricked into being horrible gender people that identify boys by, you know, toys and you know, games they like to play. How dare you? How dare you?
It's just some sick crap right here, man.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure you're you get it, right? Everyone, you guys get it. It's pretty
Man.
rough, you know, all the things. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is all right. I'll stop here. So now, of course, and then of course, here's the junior section. This is for the kids, right? Hands, arms, nipples. Here's a bunch of naked kids next to a baby elephant. He's got a rubber ducky. Yeah. Okay. So that's for the kids, right? Best part about this, a note from our expert. At least we can put a name to the face of this curriculum. Debbie Rothman. She's taught human sexuality education to students in elementary, middle, and high school for over 35 years. Dear God. Now, I'm not saying that a parent shouldn't have these conversations. Not the gender. I'm not saying the gender. I mean, you're going to have to now because it is a thing in our culture. But this is not meant for. This is meant to indoctrinate you. This is not meant to help your child explain what he's experiencing in the classrooms. This is meant to help you indoctrinate your child and yourself that it's okay what you're seeing in the classrooms. And why? Why do they want it to be okay, Project? Why are they putting all this money into this?
Because it's easier to get to get the kids. It's easier to train people to do what you want them to do from a young age when their brain's not molded yet. So if they can teach you from a young age that it's okay to be trans. If you feel like you're a girl, then you're a girl. If you feel like you're a dog, then you're a dog. Because adults will look at it. If you try to teach an adult that now, they'll look at you like you're crazy, like that you're out of your mind. But you teach kids like that, you get them young enough and you indoctrinate them into thinking, hey, it's normal. This is normal, completely normal. You're crazy if you're not doing this. It's just like the old 50s things about the drugs or whatever, where drugs are bad. Anybody doing drugs are bad. Like, it's the same thing.
So let's find out who's paying for this. Are you curious? You know what? Let's get you just upset.
You don't even have to tell me. I guarantee. I mean, you're going to tell me, and I want to know. But I guarantee
we're going to play this because I just want to build up a crescendo of absolute horror before So we really establish how horrible this is before we find out who's paying for it. Look at this. Is short. It's 30 seconds.
My friends want to play doctor. Is that okay? Why is pink a girl's color? Wait, what? Mom?
So far, I mean, okay, yeah, I mean, this is part of parenthood. You got to answer these questions. Biology 101, right? They're making you feel like, yeah, you know what? You're right. These are not fun questions. I could take a gander at this, see how they approach it.
I'm snake.
So far, okay.
What if I don't want to give a hug?
Is it weird that I don't feel like a boy?
Dad, what does bisexual mean?
off the rails already.
Have two dads.
How do two dads make a baby?
What is a vulva?
What's sex?
Little kids, big questions. Amaze Jr. is here to help.
On YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter symbol. Old Twitter symbol. Okay. All right. Let's find out who these people are. You curious?
Let's go.
All right. Managing partner. These are the people writing the stuff, finding the teachers and all this stuff. This is Advocates for Youth. Rights, respect, responsibility, All right, so there's these guys. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Advocates for Youth. All right, so there's these guys. And then global partners. These guys are global. Who they got globally? Oh, wow. Right off the bat, the UN and International Planned Parenthood Federation? What? The UN? What's the UN here? UNFPA, United Nations, Sexual and Reproductive Health. Oh. This is good. Our mission is to deliver a world where every pregnancy is wanted. Every childbirth is safe. Every young person's potential is fulfilled. That's beautiful. They end HIV. Okay. All right. UN. I'm sure they're not. And Planned Parenthood. Look at Planned Parenthood here. All right. Yeah. They're into promoting sexual and reproductive health and advocating for the rights of individuals to make their own choices. Like Jimmy, who's 5 years old. 118 member association in 129 countries. All right. So, and I mean, that's not including local Planned Parenthood. That's International Planned Parenthood Federation. All right. So then you got these other, these Digital Library, Love Matters. I love it how they're always talking about reproductive health. As they want to sterilize
the whole
you.
Exactly, and that's what this whole trans thing is. When you have boys that want to be girls and girls that want to be boys, okay, well, you're right there. You're stopping the natural functions of sexual reproduction.
Asia, Planned Parenthood. All right, all of these other groups, NGOs, some of them, which we talked about earlier. What are they doing here? East and Southeast Asia. Oh, even more planning, a family planning organization of the Philippines. So look at that. That's interesting. There it is. Planned Parenthood Association of Thailand. Planned Parenthood everywhere over here, huh? What we got here? Sub-Saharan Africa. I'm sure there's nothing. Oh, Young Women Empowerment Network. That's nice, huh? IBIS Reproductive Health. It's so nice. Oh, look at Family Welfare. Academy for Kids and Teens. Okay, a Middle East and North Africa. Look at you got all of these companies, but the one thing, Catholics for Choice. Look at that. Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood. Some may say the OG. The OG NGO. Now, we've all heard about Planned Parenthood. I'm sure you know the history of Planned Parenthood Project.
There's been so many exposés about them. Absolutely.
But I just, I don't want to go into depth about it because our audience here is smart here at the Talking Heads podcast. All 5,652, 53 of you, you know the history of Planned Parenthood. But just for a reminder, in case anyone wants to just bring it up, let's go over the founder, Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood, which was designed for birth control, right? To stop the ability of women to have babies. Now, the official story of Margaret Sanger is that she was a child born of 11 kids. Father could not support them. There was a lot of beatings that took place. She got away, went to college for nursing. And then in her later years, after marrying an architect and divorcing him, she started Planned Parenthood, which was a fight for women to choose whether they wanted to have a baby or not, instead of being forced to by their husbands, as she put it. And there was no doubt women were treated horribly too. So
on the surface, I have no problem with what the organization was supposed to represent at the time of its founding, but it has been hijacked
No. No, you're going to change your mind after that, because that is the official narrative project. But this is Cussing with Hussing, and I am from the Phantom Facts world, and we're going to show you what the original purpose, not the silly stuff that was told to us years later, but from the horse's mouth. Here's Margaret Sanger and some of the things she said in public with no shame.
In Sanger's own words, she peddled racism, eugenics, contraception, abortion, while demonstrating a visceral hatred for children, parenthood, marriage, and the Catholic Church. The following quotes are directly from Margaret Sanger's own writings and interviews. 1. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it.
We're starting off strong here, ladies and gentlemen. The most merciful thing a large family can do is just kill their kid. This is your hero. This is your hero.
2. A marriage license shall in itself give husband and wife only the right to a common household and not the right of parenthood.
For fathers fighting to see their kids, that you can thank Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood.
3. All of our problems are the result of overbreeding among the working class. Knowledge of birth control is essentially moral. Its general, though prudent, practice must lead to a higher individuality and ultimately to a cleaner race. 4. Blacks, soldiers, and Jews are a menace to the human race.
Oh, wow.
This is your founder of Planned Parenthood, right? This is Amaze.org, who they view as a god.
Race. Number 5. The masses of Negroes, particularly in the South, still breed carelessly and disastrously, with the result that the increase among Negroes, even more than among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit.
What was it? Was it Project? Say what?
I'm just floored right now. I am absolutely floored that they would actually come out and say all of that.
That wasn't they, it was her. This is her. She has said all of this before she died in 1966 and during the 1920s and 30s when Planned Parenthood was really finding its leg with reproductive health.
This is what quotes of her that she said.
This is everything that's being said. The 1, 2, 3, 4 exact quotes from the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger.
Number 6. Birth control appeals to the advanced radical because it is calculated to undermine the authority of the Christian churches. I look forward to seeing humanity free someday of the tyranny of Christianity, no less than capitalism. Number 7. Every single case of inherited defect, every malformed child, every congenitally tainted human being brought into this world is of infinite importance to that poor individual. But it is scarcely less important to the rest of us and to all of our children who must pay in one way or another for these biological and racial mistakes. Number 8.
Hey, Project, does this stuff sound like sort of Hitlerish?
Oh, absolutely. This is racism, genocide, everything all put together in a nice little bow.
It now remains for the United States government to set a sensible example to the world by offering a bonus or a yearly pension to all obviously unfit parents who allow themselves to be sterilized by harmless and scientific means.
See, this is all the stuff that China is actively doing right now, though. A lot of people don't know that, but China, this is all the crap that they're doing.
They were doing it, but they've stopped. They've stopped as of 2 years ago. But yes, they did this for 30 years, and it's been the most disastrous economic decision of a country ever.
Margaret Sanger, the woman heralded by the Democrats and left-wing ideologues in the United States for her positions on women's reproductive rights, always failed to include her genocidal positions on ethnic cleansing. She died on September 6, 1966 in Tucson, Arizona. But Margaret Sanger was not alone. The late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in a New York Times interview, "Frankly, I had thought that at the time Roe was decided, there was concern about population growth and particularly growth in populations that we don't want to have too many of." In Elle magazine, Ginsburg also stated that poor people should have ready access to abortions because it makes no sense as a national policy to promote birth only among poor people.
And the crazy thing is all these flaming liberals, they treat her like a hero. She's their idol. RBG, RBG.
I'm just letting it soak in for people because, I don't think people, they've heard stuff, like, oh, she was, eugenics and stuff like that. But to actually see the quotes and to understand the type of person we're working with here is important. Now, you're asking yourself, how could someone believe such things? How could someone believe such things? I mean, obviously, white supremacy plays a part into it, right? Keep racism. But some of this other stuff is not based off of race. It's based off of poor people. Where does this come from? And so I did a little digging, and sure enough, in the late 1700s, there was a man named Thomas Malthus. And he had come up with a doctrine from his church that dealt entirely with this subject. I'll give you a little idea here. Malthusianism is, I'm going to slaughter it, but the Malthusian cult. This guy wrote a book called An Essay on the Principle of Population. And if you get a chance to go through, you'll find out that the good old playbook for global warming, for climate change, for CO2, everything is based off a good old Thomas Malthusian cult. Ugh, sorry. I knew I was going to slaughter it. But this guy literally taught that if there was a way to depopulate more aggressively, this would be huge. And
believes in this 100%, by the way. He said many of the same. Bill Gates believes all this stuff 100%. He has said many times on record that everything that they're saying here, he has said.
Interesting, because I found out that Bill Gates and the church he grew up with comes from the same branch that this church comes from. Now, I'm not there to say I've been to the sermons or anything like that, but I do find it interesting that the most powerful man in Seattle, Washington, his father, forced Bill Gates for the majority of his life until the early 2000s to go to church that taught this, what Thomas Malthusian believed. Now, it's interesting you bring up Bill Gates because we're sitting here talking about Planned Parenthood, right? We're not talking about Bill Gates.
Well, Bill Gates is one of the biggest funders of Planned Parenthood. I do know that much.
Yes, with over $80 million given from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to Planned Parenthood. But it's not just that, right? Here, let me play this clip here. Just to give you an idea as to how deep it goes with Bill Gates, because everyone, Bill Gates is the national boogeyman in the X world, and we need to understand why. You can't just go around and say Bill Gates is the evil man. You got to understand why Bill Gates is an evil man, and how this ties in to Planned Parenthood. I got this clip right here. I'm pull it up here.
Guest, I should say, is Michael Hitchborn. He is with American Life League's. He is the American Life League's director of Defend the Faith. It's a project devoted to assisting bishops across the country defend the Catholic Church from attacks both within and without as well. And their website is all.org. You're probably very familiar. Called keep track of these organizations.
Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation doesn't fund abortion. They haven't funded abortion even when they founded the whole thing. But, from just 2009 through 2013, they gave about a total of $71 million to Planned Parenthood of America, International Planned Parenthood Federation, and Planned Parenthood of Western Washington. In 2012, they gave $46.1 million to Marie Stopes International alone. And of course, Marie Stopes International is Planned Parenthood's #1 competitor.
Yeah, and I was surprised to also hear that she was on the stage with abortionist Leroy Carhart, and I think also...
All right, so we see that publicly, they don't like to admit it, but they do like to donate to the tune of $100 million to abortion advocates. But why? But why Planned Parenthood Project? Well, it just so happens I have a video clip here that just might open it up a little bit.
Come to reproductive issues as an intellectual?
When I was growing up, my parents were always involved in various volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood.
That explains it.
Did you know this?
I did not know that.
Volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood. And it was very controversial to be involved with that.
Yeah. Why was it so controversial to be involved with it? Well, because he believed in the same beliefs that Margaret Sanger believed in. He was alive during Margaret Sanger time. He kept the dream alive. Now, why are we talking about Bill Gates' dad? Well, it's very important because do you know much about Bill Gates Sr. and what type of person he was? It's hard. Yeah,
I haven't done. Maybe one day we should go deep down the rabbit hole and really dig into that. But tell me what you know. I'm curious.
I'm going to show you how Bill Gates Jr. describes his own dad. This is when his father passed away. This is his a video he posted on X.
I think a lot of people look up to their father. I know I did. He grew up in a lower middle class household. His parents didn't finish high school. He was a Boy Scout. He went to the University of Washington, was an officer in the war, came back and went to law school, and then met my mother and was a very successful lawyer. And then helped create the foundation. That was something he volunteered to help with soon after my mother's death. My dad is a great example of hard work, integrity, and modesty. He did share a lot about the complex cases he was working on, which I found fascinating. Stories of commerce and pricing and profit, loss, what is a business. And I was, very energetic and ambitious, but I always tried to temper that with the kind of approach that I associated with my dad. My dad's ability to stand back and assess the situation. It was noble.
I love how they make sure they include kids getting vaccinated. Make sure you get that shot in the obituary. So, I mean, I think you get the idea, right? Bill Gates is not estranged from his father. He loves him very much, right? There is a strong father-son bond between these two. So it only makes sense that the president of Planned Parenthood, who believed in eugenics, would pass this belief on to his son. Am I wrong to believe that?
No, 100%. I think that is, where a lot of Bill Gates' beliefs come from. The foundation of it comes 100% from his father.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's 100% he is in line with his father, even more so than his father expected. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, how come I have never heard this about Bill Gates and his ties to Planned Parenthood and his big donations to places like amaze.org. And well, let's just play a little bit of this here, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea.
Senior is a caring man.
He's unflappable as far as I can tell.
I was impressed with him from the very beginning.
He's always intently interested in what you have to say.
The idea that this man that knew as much as he did about family planning wanted to learn more.
Not every man is comfortable talking about reproductive health, and especially not then. He dug in and did it. He was fearless.
More than 20 years ago, Bill Sr. visited Johns Hopkins, this school.
Papa Gates, as we all then called him, had been asked to prepare and set up a foundation.
She finally convinced him after a number of discussions to come visit the school.
I was able to take him in to meet the students, the faculty, the dean, to talk about all the possibilities.
Bill absolutely fell in love with the students. He could see the passion, the devotion they had.
We were very excited to meet him, and particularly his inquiry and his interest in improving women's health.
I was struck by how humble he was, his simplicity, and that he was such a great listener.
Okay, I wanted to set this up just a little bit more because, this is the public persona. Now, don't forget, Bill Gates has hired a media relations team of 30 individuals for the last 20 years to improve his public image, right? This is, absolutely, Global Doctors is backed by Gates as well. So these are the little puff pieces, talking about how his dad donated to start the Bill and Gates Melinda Foundation as long as they dealt with reproductive health and he was in charge of it. What an interesting thing to request upon giving your son a present in a donation form. Okay, all right. So this is the official narrative of who Bill Gates Sr. and therefore Bill Gates Jr., the type of person he is. Just wants to make the world a better place, less poor people. Everyone can be happy. Meanwhile, Bill Gates is in India, and this is going on.
Welcome back. Were several Indian tribal girls used as guinea pigs? The report alleges that 2 American pharma giants' untested vaccine was administered to thousands of tribal girls without proper study and paperwork.
India was among the hardest hit after Bollywood celebrities were incentivized by the Gates Foundation to urge the public to submit to mass vaccinations. In 2009, tribal children were administered the HPV vaccine. Over 24,000 girls were told they were being given wellness shots, in many cases without the informed consent of a parent or a guardian.
The people that were administering these vaccines lied to the guardians of these girls and told the girls, oh, this is going to cure cancer. You're never going to have cancer. And these girls became severely injured. Some of them developed seizures. Some of them developed cancer. And 7 girls died. And there was no insurance. There was no assistance for them. And the Gates Foundation denied that it had been clinical trials. And it was so bad that the parliament in India created a task force. They studied it and they kicked out the Gates Foundation.
But India is a barbaric country. Things happen here in a very barbaric way. But I was surprised to find an American organization operating in broad daylight, doing things in a very, very, let's say, Indian fashion. And so the route I took was that I want the whole procedure to be investigated. The Indian Parliament formed a committee, and it was to me a rather surprising move because you generally don't often have such a high-level inquiry into matters affecting poor people. And that was such an extraordinary report. I don't think Indian Parliament has ever come out with such a scathing report. And the government officials came up and said, we shouldn't have authorized this. We're sorry. We're not going to allow them again. And now they're back doing their same old tricks.
That's in India. That's going on.
Get a hold of that report, by the way. I would like to actually, one of these, maybe on another show, I would like to see if we can get a hold of that report and actually read that report word for word.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and you can go on to certain, I think it's Kenya, filed a report against the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to the UN, which is public. It's in one of the links to the old shows. We did an episode called Eugenics. And I got a link to that. I'll have to dig it up. But it's very interesting. They were coming in saying that, hey, this is going to prevent malaria or whatever was around there. And then it was sterilizing their girls. And you think to yourself, well, maybe that's just an isolated incident, bad egg. Well, here in Africa,
Time to confront the harsh reality about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Behind their philanthropy lies a deeply concerning agenda that jeopardizes the lives of Africa. This charitable behemoth has invested over $6 billion in Monsanto, Bayer, Syngenta, and other agribusiness giants, pushing hazardous industrial agrotechnologies into Africa. From GMOs to toxic pesticides, their solutions are poisoning African lives, bodies, and lands. Gates relentlessly promotes these corporate control technologies under the guise of feeding Africa. The real motive, though, is trapping Africa into neocolonial food systems and chemical monopolies. Organic agroecological farming that could feed the people while restoring nature, the foundation aggressively undermines it as unproductive, favoring its corporate biotech benefactors instead. It's ecocide and food apartheid in the making. Their so-called green revolution in Africa has been an abject failure, impoverishing millions of farmers. Yet Gates arrogantly enforces this dogma through aid leverage and science gatekeeping. Following hazardous agricultural technologies, they now aggressively promote unproven risky genetic engineering experiments like gene drives.
All right, so you got that going on, and then you've got, meanwhile, this report coming out of Kenya, Go ahead.
Bill Gates is also behind HIV. That was genetically altered and modified specifically for a certain race to target a certain race.
Well, and it's fascinating because there's plenty of pictures of Bill Sr. with Fauci, with the department head of protocol in 1985.
Fauci owns a ton of patents when it comes to HIV virus.
Yeah, well, they were all friends, and that's the power Bill Sr. had, and he gave it all to Bill Jr., and he's doing this in chat.
Just put it blatantly to you.
The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that, but have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned.
Oh, so there you go. They're fiddling around there too. Now you're asking yourself, but why? This guy seems like a nice guy. Why is he doing all of these horrible things? And we have to go back. We have to go back to Mama Margaret and remind ourselves of what she believed.
When I say believe, I don't mean believe in committing sin. Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
But sin in the ordinary sense that we regard it, do you believe or do you not believe?
Well, what would they be?
Do you believe that infidelity is a sin?
Well, I'm not going to specify what I think is sin. I've stated what I think is the worst sin.
Yes, but then you asked me to say what, and I said what, and you refused to answer me?
Yes, I don't know about infidelity. It has so many personalities to it, and what a person's own belief is. You can't. I couldn't generalize any of those things. As they
These people, and what's so sad about this is Bill Gates, we say Bill Gates Sr. and Bill Gates Jr., but technically it's Bill Gates Jr. and Bill Gates III. But they despise his grandfather because he was lower middle class and he could barely help his son in college. Now that they somehow found their way through the crap of middle classdom, they don't want anyone else to be able to experience it. They want the death tax of 50% reinstalled. No generational wealth for you. Oh, it's okay for us. Absolutely. We'll hide it in foundations in which we test sterilization techniques in other countries. And it's not other countries anymore. It's here. It's been here for a while.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at them putting I think fluoride or whatever, but in our water and stuff. There's a lot of stuff they're doing to sterilize us.
Yes. Yeah, it's
our foods and stuff, which is why getting RFK Jr. in there is so important.
I'm glad you brought up RFK because Bill Gates does not feel very comfortable about old RFK Jr.
He's been given in this incoming administration.
Well, he wrote a book saying that Tony Fauci and I kill millions of children and make billions of dollars with vaccines. And, people can judge for themselves whether that's correct or not.
It's funny he didn't sue him, right? Hate to open up that investigation, huh, Billy? Billy?
If that was not true, then where's the defamation lawsuit at?
Exactly. Well, and do you want to know what RFK really said? They've got. I've got a little clip of him, and he actually just explains it in a short little clip.
Downs really destroyed that whole illusion of globalization, but it was a money-making enterprise for Gates, and the vaccines are the same thing. He gives the money, gets tax deductions for giving the money to the WHO. Mm-hmm. He gains control of the WHO. The WHO pays for finances the health ministries in virtually every country in Africa. Mm. So he can then say, as a condition of getting that money, this is what WHO does. as a condition to get that money, you have to show that you vaccinated a certain percentage of your population. Is the milestone, and the vaccines that they're buying are owned by companies that Gates owns. Oh, it's this system where, at the end, the punchline on almost all of his philanthropic projects are that he ends up making money. Oh, I don't look into his head and speculate about why he thinks the way that he does, but he did the same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft was, it was a monopoly. It's to control every aspect, of vertically integrate, and control every aspect of the domain of the landscapes, and be able to monetize philanthropy to make yourself richer.
It's the revenge of the nerds. Whatever girl rejected him in high school, it is on you.
All right. Well, I think she's cute. Did you know that this is what he was doing? It's crazy. Holding, and I mean, yeah.
And on that note, I hope Epstein Island, I hope the Epstein files drop soon. Hopefully Trump will declassify them, because all hell is going to break loose when it comes on that. Bill Gates is going to be right on the top of that list, I guarantee it.
Well, and do we want to watch a couple clips of him sweating, talking about it? I did pull a few just because he is extremely scared of that information coming out. Where was this interview? I think the Defiant too.
If you got him, let's watch him. I love to see Bill Gates sweat.
It is fun. Oh, before we do that, one quick thing. Not only is Bill, so we talk about how his organizations donate to Planned Parenthood, but do you know the story of Starbucks? Of how?
No, I don't. Okay, Christy, yes, this is live, by the way.
Yes, Christy. Yes, welcome aboard, Christy. This is the story of Starbucks, everybody.
Great news to me, but I had no money, and at that time I had.
So they're talking about the franchises. Howard Schultz, the now owner of Starbucks, he was a partial owner, and the store came up for sale, but he did not have the money to buy the other guys.
Left Starbucks and formed my own coffee company called Il Giornale, and we were doing pretty well, but I had no money to buy Starbucks. The purchase price was $3.8 million in 1987. And so the good news is the opportunity, bad news, no money. So I went to my existing investors to try and raise the $3.8 million. And Jerry said, if you can raise the money in 60, 90 days, it's yours. But at the same time, just to cover myself, I'm going to start talking to other people in case you can't raise the money.
Which would have been horrible for you.
Yeah, terrible. And he came to me with about 30 days in and said, how are you doing? And I said, I've raised about a third of the money, and I'm confident I'm going to raise the rest. But I wasn't confident. I didn't know where the money was coming. Well, maybe a week or two later, he calls me up and says, can you come see me? And I go to see Jerry, and he says, I got some bad news. I've got an all-cash offer, all cash, with no due diligence to buy the company. And Howard, I just got to take it. And I said, from who? And he said, one of your investors. And it turned out that one of our investors had gone around me and tried to steal the opportunity. And I tell you, I was just heartbroken. I couldn't believe it. The guy who...
So just to get people caught up, this guy, he's going around asking to borrow money from people so he can purchase Starbucks, right? And one of the guys he went to borrow the money from has now decided, I'll just buy Starbucks.
Was intending to do this, was a titan in Seattle at the time. He's here, and I'm down here. I would have no access to him. I was in a basketball league at the time, and I'm telling my friend Scott Greenberg the story. He's a lawyer, a young lawyer at Bill Gates Sr.'s law firm. And he says to me, this is a terrible thing. You got to come in the office and tell Bill Gates the story. You have to. I said, I don't even know Bill. He said, you come in. So next day, he got a meeting with me, and I went in there with Scott Bill Gates Sr., who at the time was like 6'7", 6'8", he was a titan of Seattle. He was just the man. Now, Bill Gates, Microsoft at the time, was a small startup company. No one knew Bill Gates, but everyone knew Bill Gates Sr. I walk in the office, I tell him the whole story, and he says, I'm just going to ask you two straight up questions. I was so nervous. I was so anxious.
I was going to say, the nerves had to be through the roof.
Awful. Yeah, I was sweating. I said,
my hands are sweating just listening to this.
He says, is everything you told me true? I said, Mr. Gates, 100% the truth. Have you left anything out? I said, no. And he says, we're going to take a walk. I don't know where we're going. We take a walk across the street, literally. We go up to the top floor, and then I realize we're walking into the other man's office, whose name should be not mentioned. We walk in. Bill Gates is 6'7", 6'8". This guy is behind his desk, and Bill Gates stands over him, just like this, walks in and said, I'm going to walk out of this office, and you are going to stand down, and Howard Schultz and Starbucks Coffee are going to never hear from you again. Are we clear? I'm just like, holy. And the guy kind of wilts and says, I understand.
That's the type of power Bill Gates Jr. inherited from his dad. Guy could just walk into an office and be like, nope, you're not doing this. And now think about that project. If you're Howard Schultz, are you not indebted to Bill Gates Sr. the rest of your career?
Absolutely. And that's how it is. It's the quid pro quo of the, that's how they all operate. That's why we can't get our government to do anything, because they are all indebted to Bill Gates and all these other people.
And Starbucks just donated $5 million to Planned Parenthood last year. So you see, it's not just Bill Gates funding the eugenics program, international eugenics program. It's Bill Gates and his entire posse. And so when this whole thing happened with Epstein, his reaction, he's not thrilled. I mean, and to give you an example of why he's not thrilled is, let me see if I can just give you an idea of how much money Bill Gates has donated to the media. I think it's like $342 million to different media organizations. Buy me some time here while I try to pull up.
And by the way, he's not doing that out of the goodness of his heart either. He's doing that for control. It's all about control. He wants to control the narrative. He wants to suppress anything that's coming out.
Yes. No, you're right. Here's Kash Patel talking about
Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list. And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if you release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing?
All right, and this is what I'm talking about buying the media.
Gates is back in the headlines. Yes, the billionaire known for being friends with pedophile sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and buying up all the farmland in the United States. I think those two things are unrelated. I don't think he was trafficking sex through farmhouses. That sounds itchy. Although that helps explain FarmersOnly.com. New documents reveal Bill Gates has given $319 million to media outlets, essentially buying positive coverage for him and his organizations. This includes
$319 million. Now he's going to break it down into who got what. Government funded NPR, $24 million.
$24 million to NPR, $13 million to The Guardian, $6 million to Univision, and $3.5 million to each CNN and the BBC.
Now, I know you're asking yourself, what does $319 million buy you? And I tell you what it buys you. It buys you the best possible line of questioning you can get after being being accused of hanging out with a guy who had an island for raping kids that you enjoyed visiting several times, to so much that your wife left you for it. Your wife went on TV and told people she left you because you wouldn't stop hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. But he's paid $319 million. So here we are. What is this? This is is this National Public Television? Here's one line of interviewing. Tough interviewing from the media after he spends time with registered pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Is that of your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you regret the relationship that you maintained with him against Melinda's advice and wishes?
Oh, I've said that I mean, you're going way back in time, but yeah,
New audience.
I will say for the, over 100th time, yeah, I shouldn't have had dinners with him.
Epstein.
All right. Yo, you see that stare, Project? He's like, hey, make eye contact with me. So you know I'm upset. Smart.
He's absolutely squirming.
Yeah, this woman will not make eye contact with him.
Had a way of
oh, there she goes. All right.
Actually compromising people.
Immediately down again. She sees the stare and is like, gonna just read these questions real quick. Gonna get through them.
Is that what Melinda was warning you about?
No.
Brought up his wife. I tell you what, Australia news. This is Australia. Excuse me.
You can see how angry he is. You can just look at it. You can just tell. Look at his body language says everything.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's not happy.
I mean, no, I had dinner with him, and that's all.
And that you regret the relationship, the acquaintance?
That I had dinner with him.
And
if looks could kill.
And the relationship between the foundation and Epstein, which
there never was any relationship of any kind.
Now, one of the issues that's
I just wanted that to soak in. That look right there. That's a nice look for Bill Gates. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Like I said, if looks could kill, man.
Oh, now that's not our American media. Let's see how our American media handles it.
Reported at that time.
Now this is PBS News. How much money did he give them? It was like 24 million or something like that. Somewhere around there.
That you had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, who, when you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that. He had relationships with people he said, would give to global health, which is a interest I have. Not nearly enough philanthropy goes in that direction. Those meetings were a mistake. They didn't result in what he purported, and I cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continued to meet with him over several years, and that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners.
What he did when he found out about it, he tried to cover it up.
Yes. Yep. And now he is begging Trump to not expose this more, because he is holding true to this. It was only dinners.
And there's nothing, absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
Had a number of meetings with, and that, in other words, a number of meetings.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard that. He's like, if there's anything you can learn from, well, he's dead. So, in other words, he's saying right there, like, if you do anything, I'll make sure that you get taken care of, that you're not going to survive to tell anybody.
This is a threat, 100%.
Background.
That's how I took it.
Well, and, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for...
He's steaming right now. Steaming. He's like, I said, I regretted the dinners, and that hasn't changed.
Anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
Be careful what? Asking the wrong questions or threatening the wrong people?
And, I'm very proud of what
we have 7,777 viewers. Welcome to the Talking Heads podcast. Project Constitution and Cussing with Hussing, Phantom Society.
we've done in philanthropy.
Breaking down.
Be very proud of the work of the foundation. That's what I get up every day and focus on.
Yep. If looks could kill.
He looks like he's ready to just cradle up in the fetal position and start rocking.
Well, and now he's got a new book out. You see that? Trying to rebuild that image still.
Yeah. Used to be autism had a fairly narrow definition that was, clearly identifiable. But this idea that if you're slow socializing, I have a behavior where I rock that bothers people, but that's also common, so-called self-stimming type thing. So I realized, wow, there's a bit of a pattern match there.
In his upcoming book, Source Code, Bill Gates reveals new details about his childhood, including the realization that were he a kid today, he would be diagnosed on the autism spectrum.
Crazy. I called that. It's crazy you had that clip queued up there, because as soon as I saw that, his behavior, his body language like that, that's exactly what I thought. And then you had that clip ready to, that's awesome. You're muted. You're muted, bud.
No, he is desperately trying to restore his image right now because he has lost the trust of a large percentage of the American people. And he's getting kicked out of countries. And so now he doesn't have the backing of the United States government. At least we don't think so. So far, they've cut funding to the WHO, which is his way to outreach to all these other countries. That's his arm to bully these African countries. It's the WHO. And if the United States is not going to back the WHO, then that means his research isn't going to have any backing behind it. So it's I don't think people understand how huge it was day one. WHO out of here. That takes the strength. Yeah, it takes the strength away from these pharmaceutical companies. Anyway, so and Bill Gates is playing the autism angle. I don't know if you noticed that, but he's like, oh, no, I'm autistic. I just have a hard time understanding people. That's why when I watch underage kids get boinked, I didn't have any emotional feeling about it. So forgive me for that. But I create vaccines that, reduce the black people. Isn't that nice of me, supremacists?
It's called he's a psychopath is what it is, or a sociopath, one or the other. He's one of them.
He's well, and here's another little fun clip.
Epstein may be dead, but this story isn't. A shocking new report from the New York Times sheds light on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein. After Gates' name came up in connection with Epstein and MIT Media Lab, Gates gave a statement to the Wall Street Journal where he insisted he did not have any business relationship or friendship with Epstein. But new reporting from the New York Times outlines numerous meetings between Gates and Epstein and a conversation with Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, a connection between their foundation and JP Morgan to set up a charitable fund that would financially benefit Epstein. You know what I want to know? Why? Joining me now, one of the
Did you get all that, Project? Should we break it down just a little bit of what she says here before she starts talking to this investigator?
I think we need to dig it in more.
Yeah, what she's saying here is that for some reason, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was setting up a trust fund that went to Jeffrey Epstein through an organization that helped battered women. Isn't that sweet?
It's all part of the web.
No. This is a blackmail situation. That's what this is. Right? You are going to put money in my pocket continuously because you can, Bill Gates, and because you have all these aspiring goals. And I won't be a problem for you, and I will direct problems away from you, and then you can do to your heart's desire whatever you want, whenever you want, as long as you go through my connections. That's what this is. That's what this is. So this, would keep him in line politically with the people who had access to what Bill Gates was doing over and over again with old Jeffrey Epstein. And Jeffrey Epstein got a paycheck.
New York Times reporters from this story, James B. Stewart, who was also the author of a new book I highly recommend, Deep State, Trump, the FBI, and the Rule of Law. Let's start with this. Gates says, no relationship, nada, nothing. You report these two men met at least 6 times. What does Gates say about that?
Well, I believe that there were more, and he and his spokespeople would not say how many in total they actually met. This included visits to the mansion, seeing each other in Seattle, flying on Epstein's plane, when we all know Bill Gates has his own $40 million plane.
I thought they were just having dinners, Project.
Oh, it goes far deeper than that. It'll all come out.
And then, as an investigative reporter, why would Gates say, oh, I had no relationship with him, when, of course, he knows what the facts are? So that always sets off red flags for me.
He also has one of the largest, most established foundations on his own.
Yes.
Why would they ever set up a charitable trust benefiting Jeffrey Epstein?
Well,
what's the explanation?
Not only does he have the world's largest charitable foundation, but one of their primary missions is to help young women in underprivileged countries. Jeffrey Epstein was preying on young women from Eastern Europe, from South Africa, luring them into his web. And it's the antithesis of what the Gates Foundation stands for. And by the way, there were Gates Foundation employees who were horrified when they realized what Jeffrey Epstein had done and was saying, we don't want to have anything to do with this, and yet the project went on.
And what is the Gates explanation for this?
That it was all about philanthropy, that Bill Gates just wanted to find new sources of money.
This is from a 1997 article, interview with Bill Gates, and asking about why he keeps his personal business, his personal views, away from his public persona as Microsoft owner. And this is his response. Because the alternative is inappropriate. I have my personal views. Then there's Microsoft, a company that gets involved in very few political things. My own views are those you'd expect from somebody who feels like he's been very, very lucky and that the resources under his command are really society's resources. And I have to be clever about how I'm going to funnel those back in. I fund education projects. I fund population control. I'm very big on the United Way. So just, a nice full circle for people who sit there and wonder why? Why? How is this a thing? I just wanted a nice little paper trail for everybody that you can find here.
Microsoft is just a tool for him. That's what he uses as his vessel to do all the things that he wants to do as far as his beliefs. Under that woman that you were talking about earlier. That's what. So that's why he said when he's saying he has to be careful with how he funnels the money or whatever. That's what he's talking about there. He has to do it under the radar because he doesn't want to hurt the tool of Microsoft.
Yes, and that's how all of these people operate. The funds are done through the moral obligation of like here for this example.
Land Institute first started to address global warming back in 1993. And back in 1993, we identified that as the mother of all environmental scare tactics. The environmentalists, the left actually, not environmentalists, groups on the left, understood that if you can control energy, you can control human beings. And that's what it was all about. This was a search for a scientific justification for a political agenda that was set well back in the 1960s and the 1970s. Of course, it goes back to the 1930s, and it goes back probably to the dawn of human civilization. But the whole idea is control energy. And if, in fact, the combustion of fossil fuels is having a dangerous impact on climate, you have a recipe for controlling all use of fossil fuels. That's 80-90% of all the energy. If you can control that and shut it down, you can shut down the engines of the world.
So now you sort of get an idea of what Bill Gates is really up to as he starts breaking ground on his own nuclear plant out there in, what is it, Montana, Wyoming? So it's about control.
And by the way, none of that energy that he's going to be creating there in Pennsylvania is actually going to go to Pennsylvanians. He's going to use that to funnel that over to California and all those places.
What is he building in Pennsylvania?
That's just where it is, a 3 Mile Island. What he's doing, he's taking 3 Mile Island and turning it back on.
No, he's doing one in it's Wyoming or Montana. I think it's Wyoming. He's doing another one in Wyoming.
He's doing multiple ones. I only know about the one in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, I hadn't heard about it. So that's 2, at least, we know of. That's interesting. You want to know who's an even bigger supporter of Planned Parenthood than Bill Gates? George Soros. Didn't he just win an award? Did he just win an award for something? I guess. Yeah. George Soros, who just bought 230 radio stations in America.
Which, by the way, we're all fast tracked. And normally it's a very long process they have to go through to get the approvals to be able to buy those radio stations. But they fast-tracked them all and did it real quick under the table, approved it just so he could control, because he knows that the conservative movement is very strong when it comes to the radio stations, especially like AM radio stations. Like that's pretty much all that's left on AM now is either religious channels or conservative movements, and both of them are adversarial to what they're doing. So they want to shut them down and shut them up, and that is how they plan to do it. And that's why they bought them. that, and also to try to prevent Trump from winning. But it's all yeah, it all needs to come out the light.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. This is a control tactic, and that's why, we've seen a shift. They'll never be able to eliminate the talking heads. Never. It's too late. Not without that raising high alarm among American citizens. So take the AM radio stations if they must. We'll find it on X. We'll find it on Rumble. We'll find it on YouTube. Maybe they've been a little bit more lenient. Maybe since their owner died under suspicious reasons after receiving medical treatment, they have decided to lighten up under the new administration. Either way, they're never going to be able to take away talk radio and boots on the ground. It's just too late for that. This is a sad attempt at saying, no, we still got a chance. They don't. They don't have a chance. It's over. It's just now we're watching the slow death. And as long as we make sure we double tap, as is the rules in Zombieland, we can make sure that this never happens again in 100 years. And we have a game plan for 5 generations from now when it does happen again, so that they can root it out as well.
100%. And the AM stations are pretty much a dinosaur anyway. There's a lot of the conservative movement has embraced finally, which I've been trying to get it to do for a long time, but it took getting kicked off of mainstream platforms for this to happen. But they're finally embracing social media and coming online with these podcasts and stuff like what we're doing. We're all the talking heads. They're never going to be able to get rid of us. They can get rid of AM all they want. They can get rid of TV, whatever. There will always be a venue, because that's one of the things. They can try to limit our free speech as much as they want, but they will never succeed in doing that, because we will always find a vessel, a platform to be able to speak our minds and get the truth out there one way or the other.
It is a God-given right that just so happens to be protected here in America. Exactly. And the talking
God-given. It's not guaranteed. It's not a right that's granted to you by the Constitution. It's upheld by the Constitution. It's a God-given right.
And that is the most important thing that any human has, is the ability to see tyranny and point it out without fear of retribution from their government. So, that's why me as a ginger am so brave to go on camera.
There you go. Honestly, right. I'd be on camera too if I had better internet, but my internet is real shoddy here. If I did that, I'd be skipping like crazy.
Well, when you guys see value in a podcast like this that does more than just react to videos, but actually does a deep dive and tries to show you what actually the pieces that connect are from their own mouths. If that is value to you guys, then please, you see PayPal below there. Whatever value you think a 3.5-hour podcast is for you, we appreciate it, because this takes time, but we feel it's important. This stuff is important for people to just understand. It's easy to talk about them and they, but we have more power when we understand who them and they are, and what them and they believe, and what exactly we're up against. And so that's what we try to bring to you here at the Talking Heads. Trump is in power and he's doing great things. But, Project, you just had an article on abuse at VA hospitals. There's abuse going on in counties with CPS. Where there's humans, there will be abuse. And we're not saying we're going to stop abuse and create a beautiful utopia. We're just saying we're creating a channel where if you see abuse of power, let's get it out there. Let's get it out to the grand jury of the world and let them decide if that's American or not.
This is how, as a society, we have checks and balances. We have to, if we see something wrong, or if the government oversteps their bounds or something happens, it's when we, the people, see it and say something and keep them in check and force people into line and weed out the corrupt people or the corrupt organizations or whatever it may be. And that's our strength when we do that together.
100%. Another successful Sunday night podcast project.
Absolutely. And again, if you like what we do, please consider donating. This channel is fan funded. We make very little on. I don't even know if your channel is monetized. I'm not monetized on YouTube. I'm only monetized on X, and very little. I mean, I make $40 a month. So this is all fan funded here. And this,
when we talk about value for value project, where people go to a movie to get entertained, and they pay $50 to go see a crappy Marvel movie that they already know what the ending is. And we're just saying, if you find our content more interesting than a DEI film that you're willing to pay for, then and this 3.5 hours is going to allow you to go to work tomorrow and be like, hey, do you know Margaret Sanger hated black people? Then donate. Then donate, because there's value to know. Knowledge is valuable, and we just want to share it with you, And if you don't donate and you say it has absolutely no value, hey, we get that too, man. Like I've listened to podcasts for years before I donated to them, so I get that as well. But Project Constitution out here is just really putting out gold articles and nice little nuggets to chew on throughout the day. And so be sure to follow Project Constitution at X.
I don't know what you consider yourself, but I consider myself an independent journalist, and I'm always out there trying to dig up what's going on, dig in further, get the hard-hitting stories of what's going on, and that's what I do. I mean,
here's the thing, Project, is like, as Americans, as citizens of this country, the Constitution gives everyone the right. And everyone has a social responsibility to be their own independent journalists. And some put a lot more time into it than others. And that's, we have to show the value behind it. That's what you do, is you take full advantage of your ability given to you by this country, well, by God, and upheld by this country's Constitution, to see what's going on out there and do deep dives. And there's value to that. And so when you come out with an article, I know it's not some emotional reaction. I know that there is well written. There's always some sort of interesting video tied to it that just brings you in.
I have a very good. I have a very keen ability. One of my strong suits. Talking's clearly not one of my strong suits, but one of my strong suits is being able to see both sides of the coin, if you know what I mean. Like I can read, I can see one perspective and the other perspective and get right down the middle and find out pretty much where the truth is. And that's something that a lot of people can't do. It's very hard for them to do. And I'm blessed to be able to do that. And that's what the value that I want to bring to you guys, and what I do with my journalism, with my writing, with the stories I bring you, the posts I make you, the articles I write. So I love doing that for you guys. if, like I was saying, if you appreciate what we do, consider donating. If you can't donate, you can also help us by liking the videos, by sharing the videos. That helps us just as much to get us out in the algorithm so more people see us.
Or providing information for us, and giving us tidbits and areas to look. We did a deep dive on Bill Gates and his ties to Planned Parenthood, but if there was a huge connection missing, email us and let us know. Mama M, we'll have to figure that out, but that's the thing. Like, there's always some way to contribute, time, treasure, talent. If you don't have money, can you spend time throwing us a few articles where we can do a little research on them? If you don't have time to do that, do you have talent? Can you cut us up some shorts and post it on YouTube on your own channel? All those or wherever, all those types of things. Well, we'll have to figure that out. We're still figuring out the kinks. This is episode 2. Well, we appreciate anything you guys want to donate. Oh, sorry, I had to get some water in me. I was preaching to the choir. We love all of you. I think we're about good to. You want to wrap it up, or should we take calls? Or, unfortunately, my day job requires me to be up at the crack of dawn in order to serve the Republic, which I willingly do. Which is why we record on Sunday evenings. So, and we appreciate those who are winding down. We try not to get you too riled up about, adrenochrome and Molech worship, but sometimes it happens. And we're sorry that that's the Sunday night image you have to go to sleep with. But guess what? So do I. So we're in this together. And if anything brings people together, it's trauma bonding. Is this why I get muted sometime, Project? It's fair. I understand it. Project, if he's not careful. Let's see. I'm sort of curious to see what exactly little clips he brought here while we're waiting for him to what's this one?
This is called a pretextual stop. You don't have to have done anything wrong. This is a high crime neighborhood. There's a lot of drug runners coming through here, so I stop cars to see if there's anything suspicious.
Okay, well, what do you need from me?
I need to know where you're going.
That's not really any of your business. What do you need?
My business is stopping crime.
I'm not a criminal, so
great. Then just let me know where you're going. That's perfect then.
What do you? Can I help you with something? Is there something I can? What do you need?
You know what? I'd love to see your license and registration. What are you reaching for?
My license and registration.
Great. Do it slowly, please. There we go. There we go. Okay. One hand, thank you.
Can I get it?
Yes.
Thanks.
Please do. One hand, ma'am. One hand.
Nowhere on this card does it say to you, you should resist an unlawful arrest. It does not say that on my trifold. It does not say that on the Fifth Amendment cop card. I don't give a damn what statute, ordinance. I don't care where it's written down. I don't care if it's etched into stone. If you want to live, don't fight cops. Get the Fifth Amendment cop card. Follow it on the step-by-step tutorial. Don't ever. It's black and yellow, so it goes in your wallet. You'll never forget it. It's the only black and yellow card in your wallet. I spent $6,000.
That's is that our future commercial? We got sponsorship back up there. What is that guy doing over there? That's great information, but
Yeah, that's one of the products I sell on my website. We sell trifolds and cop cards, which teach people their rights. You pretty much, it tells you step by step, word for word, what to do if you're on a traffic stop or you get stopped by the police, what to say, what not to say. Specifically, it teaches you about pleading your Fifth Amendment, and not talking to them because they use everything they say against you. It teaches you about your right to not have them search your vehicle. Don't consent to searches. Don't take any of their tests. Stuff like that. So that's another way you can support us. If you don't want to just donate directly, you can buy the products off my website there. And I also have some cool shirts that I designed, X Media shirts, which, mainly for independent journalists like myself, if you do want to cover the stories and you do want to go and, be out there on the front lines and, maybe run on some crime scene and with the, you have something that shows that you're press. It says real big and bold on it that you're the media. And we have just as much rights as any traditional press when it comes to anything we do. So, and a lot of people don't know that. We have just as much right as anybody else when it comes to, press rights. If you have a platform and you're disseminating your information out there to a audience, you are press. So that's pretty much it. That's what it teaches you. I also sell digital pocket constitutions also, which, obviously that's gold because that teaches you all your rights on the Constitution. But yeah, so that's just another way to fund us. So I don't know what happened to me earlier. I was talking away and I heard you say, "Oh, I don't know what happened to me." I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm here.
I thought I'd buy time. So it actually worked out well though, because we got a little self-promotion in there. So that's good. You do a lot of stuff. Support this man. Right now, he is, he needs to see the results of this hard work. And if you find his content valuable, you know what to do. So, and we
sucks, man.
And in the end, sharing, dude, sharing is big. If you can't, we understand we're in a Biden economy. We're coming out of it, hopefully, but it's going to be a long time. And so sharing's big, getting people to just get glimpses of it and understand hey, there has some value here. So go ahead, Project.
Here's one of the things that I am so excited about is hopefully, with X is a platform and promoting free speech and not censoring us and demonetizing us. That excites me because when you say about wanting to see the fruits of my effort pay off and stuff, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for about 2 years, and I have had 4 different channels banned from YouTube, 3 different channels banned from TikTok. So every time I start to build myself up to where it becomes to where it could start making money, they shut me down again, all because I'm telling the truth. And that's why it's so important. It doesn't even matter whether you are monetized or not. The only way that we can operate is through people like you, because, to be fair, they censor the hell out of us to make it so, do we want to give up? But I'll never give up. I'm one of those people that I'm headstrong, and when I'm determined, I'm not going to quit. I'm always going to I'm going to die trying. I'm either going to succeed or die trying. So I'm in it for the long run. And I'm really excited now that Trump's in office, now that Elon bought X. I'm excited to see what happens for TikTok. I would like to see that go the way of X when it comes to free speech. These are all good things that I see happening that I hope will turn out for the better.
Yes. Yeah. Anything to decentralize these agencies and bring power back to state level and county level. That's really what America's about. Is it's about communities helping each other. And we saw that in North Carolina. We've seen it in Hawaii. They're not allowed to in Hawaii. They're not allowed to in LA. They're made to look like fools, the people that live there. And there's people there that just want to get to work. And then you see what they're doing in North Carolina when they just allow people to be themselves. And it's a beautiful thing. And they don't want people to understand that when they bond together, and I've been on relief crews, I've seen this, and thousands of people come together and just, transform neighborhoods after disasters, all, independent of any government agency. And it's an amazing thing to witness, and that type of camaraderie is a beautiful thing, and that's what happens in disaster time. And for the government to get involved and just slow that whole process down instead of supporting those people, of course there's going to be abuse, of course there's going to be people taking advantage of it, obviously, but right now it's it's just, we had that interview with the Haitian, and we're seeing similar actions here in the United States, and it has to stop. And that's we're not the only show out there talking about this stuff. We sort of are. Let's be honest. I hate doing the humble brag. So I'll just be honest. We are the best show out there. Between Talking Heads, Fan and Fact Society. Lex Friedman, he interviewed Zelensky in. It was the most softball interview I'd ever seen.
So sick. All these big name people that are getting interviews with all, like, it makes me sick because the things that they don't ask any of the questions that really need to be asked, and I'm just left screaming at the TV screen or the computer screen. So pissed off.
PBD. How did that guy get famous? How did PBD get famous? The only good
knock
thing,
any of them. They all have their role. They all have their role. I appreciate everybody. They all have their voice. They all have their role. But it does frustrate me that when they are given that chance to get that exclusive interview, and in my opinion, they screw it up by not asking the right question.
You're obviously, that's a response a non-ginger would make. I got emotional. I appreciate you bringing me down. You're the Billy Goat to my horse stable, and I appreciate you for that. But no,
I always try to stay on the what's the word I'm looking for? Neutral with people. I don't really want to. I don't want to start any wars if there's not a major reason to.
And that's the correct approach, and I would just consider myself. You remember that Key and Peele skit with Obama and then Angry Obama? I'm your Angry Obama project. So you let me go on these rants, clear myself of these souls that I've collected over a time, and then you bring it right back. You bring it right back to what the matter really is.
Absolutely, man. That's your right. That's free. That's the beauty about free speech. Is you can say what you want. Whether it be some, and that's the thing about free speech is free speech wasn't created for speech that everybody agrees with. It was created for disagreeable speech.
Yes.
It
was created.
It's about dissent. You can't have dissenting opinions. Is the only thing that drives any kind of discussion or debate.
Well, and the ability to be honest with what you're working with in a discussion is so pivotal, and that's really what they've attacked is the integrity of anything. Can you, I talk to people that will believe every conspiracy theory they see. And then I talk to people who believe that they watched video footage of us landing on the moon. Yeah, I mean, there's just such a wide spectrum of people. And, I guess, I'm a descendant of the Alex Jones generation. And Alex Jones would say things that you thought was absolutely crazy. Prime example, putting chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay. I was there when he said that live. I was listening to that episode live while I was working. And I thought to myself, what? That's what I thought to myself. Years later on YouTube, you can watch the whole dang documentary interview with the doctor who obviously drank some of that water. And sure enough, 100% turned the frogs gay. He was right. I mean, he was right about so many things. And sometimes I feel that a little, to get the point across, a little shock value is entailed. Planned Parenthood literally has videos on how parents should accept their 5-year-old into directing their family. Putting that type of responsibility on a 5-year-old to direct the family. That is crazy. That is crazy. And it's being funded by people like Bill Gates, George Soros. What's his name? Buffett?
Warren Buffett, yep. That's why they're the enemy. That's why they're the enemy. Now you know why they're the enemy. Not just they're the enemy, now you know why they're the enemy.
You know why. That's the thing. Knowledge is power. Why? Keep asking yourself that. And always ask yourself, who is their papa? Who taught them this? These are bad people, these are people that do bad things. Very, very bad things. But who taught them? It just doesn't happen overnight. Who is their papa? Who is their mama? Who is their papa and the mama? Those are the type of questions, where did they go to church? What church taught them that was okay? We know from Obama that Louis Farrakhan, actually a big deal in Obama's life, after all. After you look at the 8 years of Obama, pretty tiptoe with what Farrakhan wanted, wasn't it? Old Rush Limbaugh was right about that.
Absolutely. Rush Limbaugh is another one that I absolutely loved. He was an OG, man.
Well,
he was right, just like Alex Jones. They're right about a lot of things.
They were, and it's okay to be wrong too about some things. It's hopefully you're not so wrong that it's billions of dollars. But if you are, it happens, fortunately. But
man, although I will say what's happening with Alex Jones, with that whole thing, that's a crock of shit. That's just an attack to silence him. What he did nothing wrong. He did not a damn thing wrong. I stand behind him 110% on that.
I mean, he attacked Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin and called them lovers, and she was very embarrassed by that. So,
the truth.
All right, buddy. I got to go to bed here. It's 9:37 out here. Chiefs have won the playoffs and are heading to the Super Bowl. Fireworks have gone insane for the last 30 minutes. And once again, the northern states have been disappointed by the cool kids. Just saying.
Nice.
Red Kingdom, I think. The gladiatorial distraction. So expect big stuff to happen. Expect very, very big stuff to happen during the greatest distraction of American pastimes. The gladiator events will be in full swing for the next 2 weeks. And the distractions will be aplenty with the exhibition of sports. And so, maybe keep an ear on where you, listen to the latest news like Project Constitution, Phantom Fact Society, and the Talking Heads podcast.
Absolutely. We read through the bullshit for you, so you don't have to.
It's not just us. There's people behind the scenes. My beautiful Italian keeper was doing heavy research on the Bill Gates connections with the Reagan administration. So it's very, very interesting. So we got a lot of people researching stuff like this. And so, be sure to, do your own research as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. We may do the research for you, but you definitely need to check up and follow up on us and make sure what we're saying is right. And with that, like I said, we'll had a great show. Thank you all for joining us. This was our second inaugural show, and we'll be back next week. Most likely, we'll still be on Sunday, probably the same time. I think we settled on Sundays, but that may change. But as of now, come back on 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific next Sunday for the next episode, and we'll have another great show for you guys. Visit Fan Society on YouTube and check me out here on X, and that's it. You guys have a great night.
The golden age of America begins right now. America's decline is over. We will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth. I am with you. I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. The golden age of America begins right now.